Chapter 1190. The appearance of the clothing material at the back of the mountain made Yi Qingluo realize the dark forces were not affected by the Arch Palace and continued to surround her, thinking of ways to destroy her. The reason why the dark forces were so obsessed with her was it only because of the profound heart jade in her body. Moreover, such frequent actions, does that mean the King of Darkness urgently needed her profound heart jade? In other words, the seal of the King of Darkness was about to be removed? If that was the case, the world would be in chaos. Little Luo. Old Man Song's voice suddenly resounded in his mind. Did you forget about the divine artifact in the tomb of the Ling King? Right, and a divine artifact. That day in the tomb of the Ling King, the dark forces were clearly very persistent about the divine artifact, the Azure Water Ring. There was a set of 5 vast water divine artifacts. The dark forces had gone to great lengths to obtain the Azure Water Ring, so they would definitely be interested in the other 4 divine artifacts. This divine artifact was probably related to the King of Darkness breaking the seal. As for finding the other 4 vast water divine tools, she needed her profound jade heart to open the seal. The dark forces had always wanted her profound heart jade. He also wanted to use her profound jade heart to open the seal. The dark forces already knew the whereabouts of the other 4 divine artifacts. The Azure Water divine artifact belongs to you. You must protect it well. Old Man Song seemed to want to say something, but after hesitating for a while, he closed his mouth and didn't say anything else. The other 4 are at. Yi Qingluo was just about to ask about the whereabouts of the god relic when she heard Long Yunzhan's voice. Qingluo, for the interclass competition to be brought forward, is it? Against you? As a human dragon, Long Yunzhan had an extremely sharp sense. In this interclass competition, the dark forces had actually injected such a strong Xianyin qi into Shengguan Liuli, that brainless woman with big breasts. Even the other students of Class 2 had been assimilated by the Xianyin qi. It was obvious that he wanted the devil class to lose. Yi Qingluo and Shengguan Liuli had made a blood oath. The price of losing was that Yi Qingluo's meridians would be completely broken, and she would destroy her own profound jade heart. The dark forces used such unscrupulous methods. It was probably because of Yi Qingluo's profound heart jade. Yi Qingluo knitted her brows tightly. Fengling's appearance at the back of the mountain is also very strange. She would definitely not be so kind as to specially rush over to save us. That piece of cloth, could it be her? Long Yunzhan heard the meaning behind Yi Qingluo's words, and his expression instantly congealed. Yi Qingluo shook her head slowly. I can't be sure, but if the cloth really belonged to her, and she specially left it at the back of the mountain, then it would confirm my guess. Wind Chimes has already started working with the forces of darkness. In this case, the Imperial Palace would also be involved. I'll go look for Ah Xian and tell him about this. This matter couldn't be dragged on, and had to be told to DMO Xian as soon as possible. They would strive to make DMO Xian take precautionary measures before the dark forces made their next move. After Yi Qingluo left the dormitory, the first thing she did was to rush over to the West Continent. If he wanted to find DMO Xian, he would naturally have to ask Wind. Yi Qingluo then realized that it seemed that it was always DMO Xian who came to look for her. Moreover, no matter where she was, DMO Xian would be able to find her. And when she wanted to look for DMO Xian, she had to go through Wind. Yi Qingluo expressed that it was unfair. It was extremely unfair. When she arrived at the West Continent, the arena was in the midst of the second round of the semifinals. In today's competition, other than Devil Class and Intermediate Profound Class 2, who had been removed from the list, there were only 5 classes left to compete. And among these 5 classes, only 3 classes would be able to enter tomorrow's finals. Chapter 1191. Therefore, the atmosphere of today's competition was much livelier than yesterday. There were no funny elements like Devil Class. There were no tricks like using external elements to cheat. All of them were real talents competing against each other. Everyone's gazes were on the arena. Yi Qingluo's arrival didn't attract much attention. Yi Qingluo had the Academy's wooden token and easily entered the waiting area. The waiting area was filled with students from High Profound Class 2. Passing through the waiting area, one would be able to reach the backstage of the arena. She had just quietly walked to the backstage when she heard a disdainful sneer. "Isn't this the first place in the preliminary round? Devil Class's student E? What wind blew you here?" Yiqing Luo's mind was filled with looking for Ah Feng, and had no energy to bother about the students from High Profound Class 2. But that person was obviously jealous, because she didn't manage to get first place yesterday. Seeing that Yiqing Luo turned a deaf ear to her, she walked over directly and tugged at her collar. A gust of wind blew, and the female student felt a dull pain in her wrist. She cried out and retracted her hand as she took a few steps back. "Xuelan. Student Lu Xuelan." A few students from High Profound Class 2 immediately went forward to support Lu Xuelan. Yiqing Luo's slender brows were tightly knitted as she withdrew the profound energy in her hands and looked at them indifferently. "I have something urgent, don't bother me." "Student Yi." The male student standing next to Lu Xuelan had a solemn expression on his face. "The reason why Devil Class took first place, you know it clearly in your heart. Don't think that just because Devil Class took first place in the preliminary round, you can be complacent and look down on others." That tone, that attitude. It was exactly like when he was preaching to the younger generation. Yiqing Luo frowned as her brows were filled with impatience. "It seems that I've never put you in my eyes, so don't put gold on your face." The implication was that Devil Class didn't get first place. She, Yiqing Luo, didn't put the students from High Profound Class 2 in her eyes. That male student's long speech was suddenly stuck in his throat as his face sunk and turned green. Yiqing Luo glanced at Lu Xuelan from the corner of her eyes as her lips twitched in disdain. "I really don't know how you entered High Profound Class 2. Thinking that you're the strongest in the entire academy? It seems like your intelligence isn't that good." Yiqing Luo's eyes were masked with a trace of ridicule. She raised her brows and laughed coldly. "The one who defeated you guys was Intermediate Profound Class 2. It has nothing to do with me. If you feel that you lost in the second round yesterday, and lost the face of your High Profound Class 2, if you want to regain your confidence, then go look for Intermediate Class 2. Blocking me here. Is this the style of your High Profound Class 2? He spoke one sentence after another, as if he wasn't even out of breath. A cold glint flashed past Yiqing Luo's charming eyes as her eyes were filled with ridicule. High Profound Class 2's other students, who were originally sitting by the side indifferently, were all infuriated by Yiqing Luo's words. A few students with a fiery temper directly stood up from their seats as they furiously charged towards Yiqing Luo. "What nonsense are you talking about? If not for the fact that Intermediate Profound Class 2 colluded with the Dark Forces and used the Dark Forces' forbidden arts to raise their strength, how could we possibly lose to Intermediate Profound Class 2? Yiqing Luo smiled. "Really? Then why was Devil Class able to get first place against Intermediate Profound Class 2, who used the Dark Forces' forbidden arts to raise their strength to Earth Profound 6th grade? Chapter 1192. If Devil Class also lost to Intermediate Profound Class 2, they still had a chance. After Intermediate Profound Class 2's Profound Yin Qi was exposed, they could request for another battle with Devil Class. Then they could obtain the first place in the preliminary round. But Devil Class won, and it was a crushing victory over the cheating Intermediate Profound Class 2. They were like eggplants that have been hit by frost, wilting. Similarly, against Intermediate Profound Class 2 who cheated, High Profound Class 2 couldn't win. Devil Class, who was despised by everyone and treated as a joke, had won. They had no right to issue another challenge to Devil Class. However, they were the second most talented class in the Heavenly Academy, second only to the class of gods. They were hailed as the strongest class in the entire academy apart from the freaks in the class of gods. But in this round of competition, they had lost all their face. Not comparable to Intermediate Profound Class 2, not comparable to Devil Class. Their existence was simply a joke. Coming to take part in the semifinals today, they had already received quite a number of mocking gazes and disdainful rolls of eyes. It seemed like everyone was mocking the incompetence of High Profound Class 2. Yesterday's arrogant high-profound class 2. Today all of them were holding in their anger, like mute people hiding in the waiting area. When they saw Yiqing Luo appearing, the swelling anger in their hearts finally vented out uncontrollably. The huge commotion in the waiting area of high-profound class 2 had attracted the attention of others. Quite a number of gazes had already turned over. The main elder's gaze also followed the sound. Lu Xuelan and the others' faces turned pale instantly. Nestled in the arms of the male student, the injured Lu Xuelan clenched her teeth. The expression on her face was filled with fear. While clutching her injured hand, she moved closer to the direction of high-profound class 2. From one look, it was obvious that Yiqing Luo was bullying the students of high-profound class 2. Yiqing Luo had no intention to explain. Seeing Lu Xuelan and these obstructing dogs finally moved away, she walked directly towards the backstage, not even sparing them a glance. Student Yi. Lu Shuiyu suddenly stood up, as her icy cold gaze looked at Yiqing Luo's back. Tomorrow, high-profound class 2 will go all out. Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused slightly. As she turned her head sideways, her eyes curved, holding a smile which didn't look like a smile. I hope you will really go all out, and not learn the tragedy of intermediate profound class 2. Lu Shuiyu's expression changed slightly. Yiqing Luo didn't say anything else, as she had already walked into the backstage. The hatred between high-profound class 2 and devil class. It was also enough for the dark forces to make use of high-profound class 2. Not a single one from intermediate profound 2. Another high-profound class 2. As long as humans were greedy, resentful, the dark forces would have something on them, and would devour them completely. When she reached the backstage, A Feng was already waiting for her there. Yiqing Luo politely greeted the masters around her, and walked over to A Feng. Her lips curled into a smile. Supreme Mo. Her voice was filled with flattery. Her voice was soft and charming, as if it could melt one's bones. A Feng shuddered, and his face turned green and black. Was this woman taking revenge on him on purpose? If the Overlord were to see her in this state, the Overlord would definitely hack her into pieces. Supreme Master Mo is the substitute teaching master of Devil class. I have some matters which I would like to ask Supreme Master Mo alone. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly, as her crafty eyes were filled with rippling luster. Ah Feng's body tensed up, as he replied with a deep N. The two of them walked towards the temporary resting room at the backstage. Chapter 1193. Yiqing Luo sensed and confirmed that there was no one around. Where is Xian? Do you have any way to contact him? She asked her motive directly. Wen's expression congealed. That handsome face with supreme Mo was suffused with a trace of coldness. This disguise skill was so superb that it could pass off as the real thing. Even the changes in his pores and expression were so real that one couldn't differentiate it. Totally couldn't tell that it was a disguise. Yiqing Luo clearly saw the flash of coldness on Wen's face, and the icy coldness in his eyes. She frowned slightly as she suppressed the displeasure in her heart and repeated, I have an urgent matter to look for Xian. Wen's expression congealed once again. It was as if a layer of frost had formed on his face. Yiqing Luo knew that Wen hated her. Especially hated her for pestering Dmo Xian. But she had not expected that Wen's hatred towards her had reached such a stage. She merely asked for Xian's contact details, and he treated her with such hatred. Yiqing Luo's brows knitted even tighter as her pink lips pursed into a line. Wind, you're Xian's guard. On account of Xian's face, I won't haggle with you. I have an urgent matter to look for Xian you. Haggle? Wind, who was silent for a while, slowly spat out two words. He laughed lightly as the icy coldness in his eyes became more obvious. You're haggling with me. He had been brought into the imperial palace by Dmo Xian since young. Dmo Xian gave him a life that he had never had since he wandered outside. Although Dmo Xian was cold towards him. But Dmo Xian gave him a home that could shelter him from the wind and rain. Later on, when the imperial palace's grandma selected 4 guards for Dmo Xian, he joined them without any hesitation. After 5 long years of struggle, in the arduous training, life-threatening missions, killing each other with his own comrades, and finally standing out. He finally stood beside Diem He had always believed in Diem as his own god. Even if he had to lose his life for Diem he was willing. But the god he believed in had fallen because of a trash, arrogant and despotic woman. In Wen's eyes, Yiqing Luo was an unbearable woman. There was no gentleness of a woman. There wasn't the slightest hint of a woman's gentleness. Relying on Diem favor, he made use of Diem power time and time again to achieve his own goals. He who only wanted to stay by Diem side, was also sent to Yiqing Luo's side. In order to protect Diem, he worked hard to become the strongest guard. Yet, he was forcefully sent to secretly protect a woman that he looked down on. Wen's dissatisfaction towards Yiqing Luo grew by the day. Wen couldn't help but sneer in his heart. In his eyes, Yiqing Luo was in a hurry to look for Diem. Wasn't it because she wanted to show off to him? Wanted to complain to Diem and punish him? He had followed this narrow-minded girl for a few months and had long seen through her. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap resounded throughout the lounge. Yiqing Luo kept her numb and burning hand as her lips curled into a faint smile. She squinted her eyes as she gazed at Wen's. So realistic that she could clearly see the clear palm print on that face as she sneered. Wind, you're Xian's guard, and are loyal to Xian, so I've tolerated you several times. But that doesn't mean that I'm very patient. She had never been a patient person. Especially when her patience was exhausted, she would not tolerate any further. Wen's words were rude and disrespectful to her. There were a few times where he targeted her openly and secretly, but as it was a harmless matter, she just let Wen be. But now she was looking for Diem urgently. Chapter 1194. Towards people who didn't like her. Yiqing Luo didn't need to show him any face. A foam covered his face with his hand. His frozen eyes were suddenly filled with rage. He gritted his teeth as he stared at Yiqing Luo resentfully, as though it wanted to skin Yiqing Luo alive. Ever since he was brought back to the palace by Diem, he had never suffered such humiliation. No one could leave such a humiliating slap on his face. This woman, she actually dared to hit him. Since you like the hard way, then I'll do it with you. Yiqing Luo scoffed as she grabbed his collar. The main elder's robe was extremely loose. Yiqing Luo used a little strength and easily lifted Ah Feng up. She sneered as there was no emotion in her eyes. No matter what you think of me, remember it well. I am the woman chosen by Xian, and also your future mistress. Your disrespect to me is equivalent to disrespecting Xian. Now, I'm executing my future rites to teach you a lesson on behalf of Xian. Are you convinced? Yiqing Luo said it word by word. Every word was like a bell as it fell into Wen's ears. Wen's body tensed up as the anger on his face grew. Shameless. She had yet to marry into his family, and already claimed to be his future mistress. How could she be so certain that the overlord would marry her in future? No matter what the future is, at least for now, the woman who is acknowledged by Xian is me. After Yiqing Luo finished her sentence, her fingers loosened. Wen's body was like a broken kite as he fell onto the ground. He was still tensed up as he clenched his fists tightly, and his entire body was trembling. A 17-year-old young man, who was brought back to the palace by Diem at the age of 8, and stood beside him at the age of 14. He had accompanied Diem for 3 years. He was very clear that this time, he was going to leave Diem side completely. This woman, a vengeful woman, would not let him off. Seeing Wen still sitting on the ground in a daze, not saying a word, Yiqing Luo's patience was exhausted. Tell me Xian's contact method. If you don't tell me, I'll barge into the Tharch palace myself. Ah Feng raised his head and looked at the extremely impatient and anxious woman in front of him. He laughed softly and said, I can contact Di Zun. Tell him that I'm looking for him. I'll be waiting for him at the dormitory. Yiqing Luo dropped this sentence and left without even turning her head back. She wasn't worried that Wind hated her, and purposely didn't pass her words to Diem. Since Ah Feng was willing to say it, he would definitely do it. Furthermore, Yiqing Luo believed that Wind's respect towards Diem was genuine. No matter how much Ah Feng disliked her, she was also Dmo Xian's woman. This was an indisputable fact. Returning to the dormitory, Long Yunjian had already brought the devil class students to the dense forest at the back of the mountain for training. Yiqing Luo directly returned to her own room. Not long after entering the Azure Dew bracelet to train her profound qi, Yiqing Luo sensed someone approaching her. She withdrew her divine sense, opened her eyes, and came face to face with a pair of sparkling peach blossom eyes. That peerless face was close at hand, emitting a dazzling temptation. Her hands stretched out and circled around his waist, burying her face into his abdomen. Ah Xian. Dmo Xian's large palm caressed the back of her head, looking at her lovingly. Why are you in such a hurry to find me? Did you miss me? Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked around, her curly long eyelashes forming a shadow on her face. Chapter 1195. Do you want it or not? Dmo Xian raised his brows as he looked at her. Yiqing Luo replied honestly, yes, but I'm looking for you not only because I miss you. It's rare that Lil Luo takes the initiative to look for me. Tell me, what's the urgent matter? Dmo Xian's fingers went into Yiqing Luo's hair as he gently caressed it. His slightly callous fingertips brushed past her scalp. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly as she slowly lowered her eyes. Her heart inexplicably pounded like a drum. She couldn't help but moved her head as she rubbed against his slender fingers. Ah Xian, has Feng Ling returned to the imperial palace? The large palm on the back of her head paused as the man's deep voice floated down from above. Did she find trouble with you? Currently, other than you, no one else can find trouble with me. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips. In that case, she really looked for you. Dmo Xian's fingers slid to her lower jaw as he slightly exerted force and met her charming eyes. Why did she look for you? His expression was calm as his shimmering peach blossom eyes were filled with that thick pampering. Yiqing Luo's long curly lashes fluttered. What do you think she would look for me for? Dmo Xian remained silent. His pupils were as resplendent as obsidian as he gazed at her. After some time, his brows creased slightly as he revealed a sliver of helplessness. I shouldn't have asked her to come over. Why was it that Yiqing Luo was trapped by the enchantment back then? If it wasn't for the enchantment, he wouldn't need to specially call Feng Ling over. Feng Ling was too much of a troublemaker. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she caught his large palm. If she really bullied me, what would you do? She asked this question not to probe who was more important in Dmo Xian's heart, or something as senseless as that. But she wanted to know from Dmo Xian's mouth what position Feng Ling held in his heart, as well as the extent of his respect towards the imperial palace's granny. After all, if Feng Ling really cooperated with the dark forces, Dmo Xian would have to make a choice sooner or later. What does little Luo think I will do? Dmo Xian hugged her slender waist tightly as he asked in a low voice. Yiqing Luo was encircled in his embrace. Her little body nudged and climbed onto his shoulder, her arms circling around his neck as her pink lips moved close to his ear. I want to hear you say it. The fragrance of a woman seeped into his nose. Her warm breath was faintly discernible on his skin. Dmo Xian's eyes darkened, and the arm that was encircling her delicate body tightened. Good girl. She actually learned how to seduce him. If it wasn't for, he didn't want others to see Yiqing Luo's beauty. He didn't mind. He directly followed Lil Luo's seduction, pressing her down and eating her clean. Closing his eyes, Dmo Xian held back his desire and wrapped his arms around her tightly, as if he wanted to integrate her into his body. You are my only reverse scale. Dmo Xian's thin lips stuck to the side of her ear as he said it word by word. Yiqing Luo's body was completely limp. Reverse scale. His only reverse scale. Which meant to say that in this world, there was no one, who was more important than her. Which meant to say that if Feng Ling really did something harmful to her, he would not care about Granny's face and show mercy to Feng Ling. Which meant to say that for her, he could give up everything. Her heart softened at this moment. Tears welled up in her eyes for some reason. These were tears of happiness. She hugged Dmo Xian's neck tightly as her heart was filled with sweetness. Chapter 1196. Yiqing Luo was concise and comprehensive, as she narrated the entire sequence of events, as well as her own guesses. Until she finished talking about the possibility of Feng Ling collaborating with the dark forces, she paused slightly. Xian, if Feng Ling is really collaborating with the dark forces, it will definitely implicate the Imperial Palace. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. And now you're provoking the Imperial Palace with great fanfare, and wanting to destroy Wolf Saint's forces. When Feng Ling's matter is exposed, everyone will feel that you're slapping your own face. What she didn't want the most was to see DMO Xian being implicated because of her matters. The Imperial Palace was DMO Xian's blood and sweat. She didn't wish for the Imperial Palace to be destroyed in Feng Ling's hands. I know. DMO Xian held her little hand tightly as he placed it by his lips and kissed it. I'll settle this matter. You don't need to worry. Just lead the devil class to take part in the competition and win the position of the champion. Yiqing Luo didn't try to show off and wanted to settle this matter together with DMO Xian. Instead, she nodded her head obediently. This matter not only implicated her in DMO Xian and the entire Imperial Palace. She hadn't really married DMO Xian, so naturally it wasn't good for her to interfere in this matter. Just Wind alone already had a lot of opinions about her. Yiqing Luo didn't want to become the hated target of everyone in the Imperial Palace before she even married into the family. This thought surfaced in her mind. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red as she suddenly plunged into DMO Xian's arms. She was actually thinking about marrying DMO Xian? She was actually considering marrying into the family? She wanted to get married so badly? What's the matter? Sensing the lady's inexplicable shyness, he lifted her chin as he asked in a deep voice. What shameful matter are you thinking about again? Yiqing Luo's cheeks turned even redder. Shameful matter? Why did this sentence sound so weird? Seeing Yiqing Luo's cheeks turning even redder, DMO Xian's deep peach blossom eyes turned even darker. The hand which locked onto Yiqing Luo's waist increased its strength once again. He bent over and his voice was hoarse with magnetism. If Lil Luo wants, I'll come over tonight and repeat the things you're thinking about, alright? Yiqing Luo. They were definitely not thinking about the same thing. What she wanted was to marry DMO Xian. Over and over again. Even if he was willing, she would find it tiring. In ancient times, the phoenix coronet and robes were simply too heavy. That kind of tiredness for DMO Xian once was enough. But what DMO Xian was thinking, it was definitely something indescribable. Men were indeed animals that thought with the lower half of their body. Chapter 1197. DMO Xian was stunned. He lowered his eyes to look at Yiqing Luo's bashful look as he laughed softly. So his Lil Luo, thought that he wanted her to say some sweet nothings? His Lil Luo, was really adorable. DMO Xian hugged her body tightly as he lowered his head and fiercely nibbled on her lips. Don't you want to complain to me about how Wind is against you? Yiqing Luo frowned. What has it got to do with Wind? Wind has already told me everything. DMO Xian pinched her nose. My Lil Luo's temper has always been bad. You think a slap can appease your anger? Yiqing Luo was speechless. In the end she burst out laughing. Wind was worried that she would add oil and vinegar to complain to DMO Xian. So she took the initiative to surrender? No wonder when Wind heard that she wanted to look for DMO Xian, he revealed such a cold and disdainful expression. This Wind, wasn't he thinking too much? Her slender fingers cupped DMO Xian's face as she slowly shook her head and smiled. I've never blamed Wind. That slap was to let him understand his own position. I'm after all the woman standing beside you. If I can't even settle your guards, then in this huge imperial palace, there's no place for me to stay? DMO Xian gently caressed her hair as his thin lips moved slightly. Your place is in my heart. Yiqing Luo stared at him. He started flirting just because of a disagreement. Could they still discuss things happily? Following that, suppressing the pink bubbles in her heart, she pouted and continued. Anyway, let's just leave Wind's matter like this. How much he dislikes me represents how much he respects you. A person who is willing to sacrifice his life for you and treats you sincerely. I won't haggle over anything. Diemosian's deep eyes gazed deeply at the person in his arms. Her words directly stabbed into the bottom of his heart. His peripheral vision glanced at a certain place. He tightened his arms as his chin rested on her shoulder as he laughed in a low and hoarse voice. Lil Luo, I'm finding it harder and harder to let go of you. He knew Yiqing Luo's character better than anyone else. He would definitely take revenge for the smallest grievance, and would not allow himself to be taken advantage of. If someone offended her by a foot, she would definitely return the favor by a foot. For example, Wen's actions and several bad attitudes were enough to make Yiqing Luo take action against Wen. But Yiqing Luo didn't have any grudges. Instead, he felt that Ah Feng's actions were reasonable. All of this was because of Ah Feng's loyalty to him. It was only because of him. How could he not love such a little Luo heir? You say it as if you will let go of me. Yiqing Luo patted the back of his hand as she grumbled unhappily. Never, never. Diemosian hugged her even tighter. His deep and serene eyes were filled with deep affection. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. If he didn't let go, she wouldn't let go either. Ah Xian, regarding Ah Feng's matter, you don't have to blame him. Call him back to your side. I don't need any special protection. Yiqing Luo said gently. I don't like people following me in the dark. Diemosian shook his head. The dark forces were still extending their claws and fangs. The current Yiqing Luo's ability was far from enough to go against the dark forces. It wasn't only Wind who wanted to specially follow by Yiqing Luo's side. He intended to send more men to protect Yiqing Luo in the dark. As though she saw through Diemosian's thoughts, she slowly hugged Diemosian's waist tightly as she buried her face into his chest. Chapter 1198. Diemosian's smile turned gentler as his eyes were filled with adoration. As though in this entire world, his eyes could only accommodate her alone. His Lil Luoer, such a stubborn young lady. He believed that one day in the future, this intelligent and quick-witted young lady would definitely grow to the point where everyone would willingly bow down to her. Wen, come in. He cleared his throat and opened his mouth to call out. Yiqing Luo was stunned as she didn't understand what he meant. She raised her head and looked at Diemosian as she was about to ask. But she acutely sensed that the window was opened and a gust of cold wind blew in. She turned her head back abruptly. She saw a delicate figure standing by her bedside. Wasn't that Wind? At this moment, Ah Feng had already removed Supreme Mo's makeup, revealing a delicate and slightly childish face. His entire body was stiff as his muscles tensed up. His face was drained of blood as he was expressionless. The minute he sensed Yiqing Luo's gaze, Wen's knees bent as he knelt down with a putong sound. His voice was icy cold as he said word by word. Miss Yi, I'm sorry for suspecting you. Yiqing Luo blinked as she gazed at Diemosian. She saw him raising his brows as he looked at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile, with a look that said, do whatever you want. Yiqing Luo understood. From the beginning, Ah Feng had been listening to their conversation outside the window, and all these were incited by Diemosian. Diemosian had not expected Wen's hatred towards Yiqing Luo to be so deep. Luckily, although Wen didn't like Yiqing Luo, but for Diemosian, he didn't take the opportunity to do anything overboard to her. What was the motive for Diemosian to make Wen stand outside the window? Naturally, it was to let Wen see for himself that Yiqing Luo wasn't the kind of person he had imagined. Seeking revenge for the smallest grievance was towards outsiders. The loyal and sincere Wind was not considered as an outsider to Yiqing Luo. At this moment, Wen's heart was in turmoil as he was extremely apprehensive. All along, Yiqing Luo's image in his heart had long been deeply rooted. But today, it completely made him view her seriously again. Wen believed that with Diemosian's character, he wouldn't leak any information to Yiqing Luo first, and let her put up a show in front of him. Diemosian disdained to do so. He didn't expect that. The reason why Yiqing Luo was in a hurry to look for Diemosian wasn't because of any complaints. It was really an urgent matter. It was an urgent matter concerning the imperial palace. She had even described his feelings towards Diemosian so thoroughly. It was as if she knew him very well. He even advised Diemosian not to vent his anger on him. and asked Dmo Xian to send him back. Of course, this wasn't because Yiqing Luo despised him, but because he only wanted to stay by Dmo Xian's side, to protect Dmo Xian alone. Ah Feng's gaze towards Yiqing Luo slowly changed his expression. He would always remember the girl in Dizun's arms. Her eyes shone with determination as she said each word, as if she was making an oath. I will work hard to grow until I have the qualifications to stand by your side. I will make everyone acknowledge my existence. At that moment, Ah Feng seemed to see a ray of hope in that girl. Inexplicably, he believed that in the near future, this young girl would definitely be able to make everyone acknowledge her. In the West Continent, the tournament was in progress. High Profound Class 2 was agitated by Yiqing Luo earlier, and their emotions were unable to calm down for a long time. All of them clenched their fists tightly as their veins popped out. They had always been a high and mighty existence in the academy. Now they were humiliated by a waste of a class student. Chapter 1199. How could the arrogant High Profound Class 2 students feel at ease? Hundreds of them sat angrily at the waiting area, not daring to open their mouths, but in their hearts, they had already cursed the Devil Class and Intermediate Profound Class 2. On the stage, Low Profound Class 2 and Intermediate Profound Class 1 were locked in battle. The preliminary round was a group fight between 10 students, whereas the semi-final round was directly raised to a group fight between 50 students. The more the number of people, the longer the competition would last. High Profound Class 2 always felt that the gazes of the surrounding people were looking at them with disdain. Those people lowered their heads and discussed animatedly, mocking the sorry state they had been in yesterday. They wanted to leave this place, they couldn't stay any longer. But they had to stay, until the last moment of the competition. The wooden lot drawn by the High Profound Class 2 was against the Low Profound Class 1. It was another battle without any suspense. The High Profound Class 2 students originally wanted to take advantage of today, to wash away yesterday's humiliation. But today, God was playing a joke on them again, drawing Low Profound Class 1. Even if he won, it was within reason. It couldn't be any more normal. Lost. It was absolutely impossible for the High Profound Class 2 to lose. They would never believe that there would be a second Yiqing Luo in the Low Profound Class 1. Just as the crowd was filled with anxiety, gritting their teeth, and cursing, the arena competition was not over yet. A tall figure, passed through the crowd, slowly walked over. His arrival did not cause much of a commotion. After all, the arena competition was already in an exciting atmosphere. If one missed a detail, it was possible to miss the details of the student's victory. That person accurately walked towards the High Profound Class 2 waiting area. Sensing someone approaching, the High Profound Class 2 students revealed an unfriendly expression, staring fiercely at the approaching person. When their line of sight landed on that person, the expression on their face suddenly became timid. President. Lu Shuiyu was the first to stand up. Her usually expressionless cold face revealed a trace of smile the moment she saw the approaching person. President, why are you here? This person was the gentle as jade Si Yanmu. His expression was gentle, and his green and white uniform made him look even more delicate and elegant. The invisible release of nobility made one's heart palpitate. Si Yanmu smiled warmly. Vice President, there is something urgent in the faculty council that needs you to deal with. Lu Shuiyu was startled. She had been by Si Yanmu's side for so many years, and was very clear about his little habits. Naturally, she understood that Si Yanmu was not someone who needed an assistant. If she wasn't there, or if there was no way to deal with it in time, Si Yanmu would handle all the matters of the faculty council in an orderly manner. How could there be something urgent that she had to deal with? However, this was the first time Si Yanmu asked her for help. The taste of happiness filled his heart. Without the slightest hesitation, she handed over the matter of the class competition to Lu Shuilan, and left with Si Yanmu on the pretext of dealing with urgent matters in the faculty council. Following behind Si Yanmu, Lu Shuiyu's heart that had been sealed for a long time, at this moment, it couldn't help but beat violently. She looked at Si Yin-mu's back in a daze. Even the view of his back made her crazy. This was her president. Lu Shuiyu's lips curled into a smile. Shuiyu. Suddenly, the man in front of him stopped in his tracks. That gentle voice made Lu Shuiyu feel like she was dreaming. She looked at Si Yin-mu blankly, that gentle eyebrow, crying out her love for the smile. Shuiyu. Chapter 1200. His gentle voice made Lu Shuiyu a little dazed. Immediately, Si Yin-mu's warm palm had already covered her cheek. Lu Shuiyu was shocked and ecstasy surged into her heart. The president actually took the initiative to touch her face? And so gentle, as if he was treating something precious. The strong masculine scent made Lu Shuiyu's breathing quickened, and she felt dizzy. She recalled that not long ago, Si Yin-mu was also so gentle to her. He would care about her injured hand and treat her wound. It was because of this gentleness. It made Lu Shuiyu sink into it again and again, unable to extricate herself from his gentle trap. Look at you, absent-minded. Could it be that you are worried about the competition later? Si Yin-mu helplessly pinched her face. You should believe in your own ability. Believe in the ability of high profound class 2. This pampering and gentle tone was something Lu Shuiyu had never heard before. She was completely dumbfounded. Her beautiful eyes widened and stared at Si Yin-mu in a daze. There was no longer that aloof and noble look on her face. She was no different from an ordinary girl. Si Yin-mu's palm slowly moved to her hair and rubbed it. You are the vice president of the faculty council. I believe in you. You will definitely be able to lead the high profound class 2, to win the title of the champion in the interclass competition. Lu Shuiyu's heart was beating wildly. Si Yin-mu's warmth covered her whole body. She almost fainted in his scent. President. Lu Shuiyu stuttered as she called Si Yin-mu. Her face was blushing. Anyone would know her feelings for Si Yin-mu. However, Si Yin-mu quickly withdrew his hand. A trace of disdain flashed across his gentle eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. Immersed in Si Yin-mu's sudden gentleness, Lu Shuiyu did not notice anything strange about him. Shuiyu, you can relax. Si Yin-mu continued to comfort her. Low profound class 1 will only be low profound class 1. It will never be like the devil class. There will be a second Yi Qing Luo. After saying that, he sighed lightly. Student Yi is indeed a rare talent. The intermediate profound class 2 colluded with the dark forces and advanced to the earth profound 6th grade, but was still easily crushed by Student Yi. If Student Yi was in the class of gods, she would definitely have a better future. He seemed to be murmuring to himself. He suddenly realized that he had said too much. He chuckled softly. His face that was as gentle as water revealed a hint of embarrassment, as he immediately explained. When I was in the faculty council, I heard quite a number of teachers discussing about the miraculous news student created last night, so I specially came to the West Continent, hoping to witness the splendor of the devil class. The more I listen, the more I speak. His explanation caused Lu Shuiyu's expression to become even more stiff. He clenched his fists tightly. Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo. It was always Yi Qing Luo. As someone who understood Si Yin-mu, how could she not know that if Si Yin-mu mentioned a person so frequently, it meant that he had a great interest in that person? Si Yin-mu admired Yi Qing Luo. Ever since Yi Qing Luo became famous in the Ling Wang's tomb and returned to the academy, Lu Shuiyu had this feeling. That time, she heard from Si Yin-mu's mouth that he admired and praised Yi Qing Luo. It aroused her hatred and jealousy towards Yi Qing Luo. She did not hesitate to make use of the Lu family's power to send a large number of killers to intercept Yi Qing Luo when she was heading to the Alchemist Guild to participate in the alchemy competition. Unexpectedly, Yi Qing Luo escaped a calamity and even provoked Dmo Xian, the overlord of the imperial palace. Chapter 1201. Fortunately, she was smart. She knew Yi Qing Luo was insidious and cunning. When she arranged the killers, she used the name of the collateral relatives. The collateral relatives were secretly exterminated by the imperial palace. At least the Lu family escaped. Lu Shuiyu did not dare to make any other moves after that. Unexpectedly, Si Yenmu's admiration for Yi Qing Luo had deepened. As long as Yi Qing Luo did not die, her president, her Si Yenmu, would be completely seduced by that little slut, by that vixen. Shuiyu, your face. Why is it so ugly? Si Yenmu's gentle voice called Lu Shuiyu back to her senses. Si Yenmu frowned. His fingers gently stroked the sweat on Lu Shuiyu's forehead. My comfort, instead, gave you more pressure? No. Lu Shuiyu immediately shook her head. President believes in my ability. I am very happy. Si Yenmu smiled warmly, like a spring breeze. Silly girl, actually even if you lose tomorrow, there is no harm. After all, the opponent is student Yi. As long as you fight well, in this battle, you can learn fighting skills, cooperation with students and so on. It is not bad. These words seemed to be comforting Lu Shuiyu. But in Lu Shuiyu's ears, there was only one meaning. Si Yenmu said, she was not as good as Yi Qing Luo. She could not beat Yi Qing Luo. Tomorrow's competition, her high profound class 2 would lose to devil class. This sentence deeply provoked Lu Shuiyu. The tight string in her brain broke. President, in tomorrow's competition, my high profound class 2 will definitely win. I will definitely defeat Yi Qing Luo. Lu Shuiyu clenched her fist. Urgently needed to prove to Si Yenmu that she could be stronger than Yi Qing Luo. She anxiously grabbed Si Yenmu's arm with both hands. President, you have to believe me. I will be more outstanding than Yi Qing Luo. Shuiyu. Si Yenmu called out to her with a worried look. But under Lu Shuiyu's firm gaze he slowly lost. He sighed softly, withdrew his hand and stroked her head. If this is what Shuiyu wants, I will do my best to help you. I have a way to help the Haitian class 2 win the championship. If Shuiyu needs it, come and find me today. Si Yenmu took out a leaf from his waist and handed it to Lu Shuiyu. Lu Shuiyu was startled and took the leaf. Looking down, the name of a place appeared on the leaf. President, this. Lu Shuiyu's heart tightened. Si Yenmu smiled warmly. Go back quickly. The high profound class 2 should be competing in the arena in a while. As the class monitor, you can't be absent for too long. I'll wait for you here at midnight. That gentle tone, and those ambiguous words. This caused Lu Shuiyu to blush. She closed the leaf in her hand and bowed to Si Yenmu. Immediately, like a shy little girl, she shyly left. Until Lu Shuiyu's figure completely disappeared. Si Yenmu, who was originally smiling warmly, suddenly showed a disgusted look on his face. He took out a handkerchief and forcefully wiped his palm that had just touched Lu Shuiyu. His face was full of disgust. He was cursing in a low voice. Suddenly, he felt a warmth on his back, and an arm wrapped around his waist. A low husky voice rang in his ear. The beauty's smell is so sweet. Why is Mumu still so disgusted? Si Yenmu's disgusted face was immediately replaced by joy. He immediately turned his head and looked up at the man, who was half a head taller than him. He wrapped his arms around his neck. Ah Xiang, why are you here? Chapter 1202. Si Yenmu stared at him resentfully. Isn't it to complete the task you gave me? Saying that, he rubbed his hand against Xiang Shengfei's chest fiercely. Seeing that woman looking at me with a love-struck look, it made me sick. Mumu's face, indeed, can make a beauty infatuated. Xiang Shengfa grabbed his hand and brought it to his lips, chuckling hoarsely. Didn't I make Mumumi fall head over heels for me? Si Yenmu narrowed his eyes, enjoying Xiang Shengfei's gentleness, half acting coquettishly and half complaining. You don't know how disgusted I was before I touched that love-struck woman. She even grabbed my arm. Is it here? Xiang Shengfei touched his arm teasingly and changed the direction. Or, is it here? Si Yenmu's body stiffened. That extremely gentle face revealed an unusual shade of crimson red. I will disinfect Mumu properly. As Xiang Shengfei said that, he directly hugged Si Yenmu's waist. The next morning, Yi Qing Luo led the group of youngsters from Devil class. And after their morning exercise, they went to the West Square's waiting area. By now, there were already thousands of onlookers gathered. Today was the third round of the Heavenly Academy's interclass competition, the finals. Everyone was filled with curiosity towards today's competition. There were even quite a number of people who had already set up bets in private. Betting on the Academy's interclass competition was prohibited by the main courtyard. But there was no way to stop some people from secretly setting up bets. It was said that there were thousands of people who had placed their bets in this private bet. Yiqing Luo looked at the waves of onlookers, and her sharp eyes saw that many of the onlookers were holding a piece of white paper in their hands. That was the betting ticket for the private bet. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly, leaned towards Qiao Jin, and lowered her voice to ask, "Jinzi, have you counted how much money have you earned, and how much have you bet on Devil Class?" There are a total of 1,446 people who bought the betting ticket, but those who bet on Devil Class's victory are only 230 people, and they only bought 10%. Xiao Jin calculated in his heart, if our Devil Class finally wins, we can earn close to 30,000 gold coins. 30,000 gold coins was enough to buy the entire Shilin Square. When he mentioned gold coins, Xiao Jin's voice trembled. The faces of the few people who were walking closer stiffened. They knew that Yiqing Luo took advantage of the competition to set up a bet or something, which was especially like a female businesswoman, but they had not expected Yiqing Luo to be a female businesswoman. He was just sitting there waiting for the money to come in. Yen Shaoi glanced at the two of them. What if we lose? 1,400 over people. If they were to lose, even if the Devil Class sold themselves, they might not be able to repay the bet. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. We will lose. We won't. Almost at the same time, the Devil Class students were extremely determined. They would not lose. He couldn't afford to lose either. If they lost, Yiqing Luo's blood vow would come true, and they would be burdened with a huge debt. If they won, they would be able to protect their own boss Qing Luo and the honor of Devil Class. They would be able to obtain 30,000 gold coins. Victory! He had to win. The eyes of the youths in Devil Class burned with a raging fire. When the youths looked at the students from the other classes in the waiting area opposite them, the fire in their eyes burned even brighter. Chapter 1203. The students from the other classes felt an inexplicable chill down their spines. Those students with stronger senses looked towards the direction of the feeling. They saw the youngsters from the Devil Class staring at them with a deep expression. A thought emerged in the students' minds. Could it be that the Devil Class had been stimulated by the pressure? All of them had gone mad? This situation continued until the High Profound Class 2 students arrived in a grandiose manner. Yesterday's semifinals. The advanced classes were the High Profound Class 2, High Profound Class 1, and Low Profound Class 2. Intermediate Profound Class 1 and Low Profound Class 1 were eliminated and had no hope of being promoted this year. The Low Profound Class 2 advanced into the finals, which surprised everyone. The principal had already indicated that if the Low Profound Class 2 performed outstandingly in the finals, they could directly promote the Low Profound Class 2 to Intermediate Profound Class 1. Naturally, Intermediate Profound Class 1 would face the result of being demoted. The High Profound Class 2 had not had any outstanding performance in this interclass competition. Numerous people were guessing this High Profound Class 2 would probably be demoted this year. The first preliminary round lost. The second round of semifinals didn't have any eye-catching performance. This year's High Profound Class 2 didn't have the popularity and enthusiasm of the previous years. On the contrary, the Trash Class Devil Class and the outstanding performance in this competition, the Low Profound Class 2 had high popularity and popularity. Of course, this was because of Devil Class's preliminary round, which made one not know whether to laugh or cry, as well as Yiqing Luo's stunning appearance at the end. As for the Devil Class, everyone didn't have much hope. After all, the interclass competition was a team competition and not an individual. One Yiqing Luo could at most help the Devil Class to reach the finals. After that, the method of the competition to the Devil Class was too unfair. That was the rules for today's third round, was that each class would send out 100 students to the stage for the team battle. Every class had at least 300 to 400 students. Devil class only had 63 people, and they had to exclude Kitty Lee because she wasn't a student of the academy and had not been registered by the academy. This was to prevent others from gossiping about Kitty Lee in the future. Therefore, the Devil class could only be counted as 62 people. All the students competed together. That was not as many as the opponents. In terms of numbers, the Devil class was at a disadvantage. This rule wasn't to bully the Devil class. The rules had always been like this throughout the years. This was also the reason why no one bought Devil class tickets when the spectators were gambling privately. Those 200 over people who had bought Devil class were totally because of their admiration towards Yiqing Luo, so they gave her some face. Once the High Profound Class 2 students passed through the Devil class's waiting area, a few of them started to mock and ridicule the rules for the day. He originally thought that after Yiqing Luo heard the finals rules, her expression would turn extremely ugly. But they had not expected that Yiqing Luo merely raised her brows lightly as her pink lips curled. So it's like this? Then you'd better be mentally prepared. The provoking student's face turned black as he gritted his teeth and said, "If we were to draw your Devil class, we will definitely be mentally prepared. We also want to see what other abilities you have to play those little tricks from the preliminaries." Lu Shuelan's expression was also extremely ugly. Devil class trash, big brothers and sisters will be merciful. Since the start of the preliminary round, High Profound Class 2 had always been a laughingstock. Chapter 1204. Qing Luo wants you to be mentally prepared to be ridiculed by others. Tong Ziqing, who was sitting beside Yiqing Luo, stood up. Her cold and elegant face revealed traces of disdain. High Profound Class 2's 100 students against War Devil's class's 62 students. TSK, if High Profound Class 2 were to lose. She shook her head, feeling extremely regretful. High Profound Class 2 would have another joke after dinner. You! Lu Shuelan's face was steely green as she stared fiercely at Tong Ziqing. You're the one who lost. You're a bunch of trash. You've all lost. Enough. Lu Shueyu, who had been silent, calmly opened her mouth. That exquisite icy cold face was as cold as stagnant water. When she raised her head, everything that came into contact with her gaze seemed to have frozen into frost. Everyone kept quiet as they looked at Lu Shueyu anxiously. The competition is about to start. Don't complicate matters. Lu Shueyu said this indifferently as she directly walked towards their waiting area. The other High Profound Class 2 students immediately followed Lu Shueyu's footsteps. Lu Shueyu. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she stared at Lu Shueyu's departing figure strangely. Tong Ziqing shrunk her neck as she rubbed the goosebumps on her body. What's going on? When did Vice President have such a strong aura? That gaze. It's too scary. Yiqing Luo nodded her head thoughtfully. It was indeed very strange. She and Lu Shueyu had crossed hands several times. But Lu Shueyu had never had such a strong aura. Even she shuddered because of the coldness just now. If we really go against High Profound Class 2, try your best to avoid her. Leave it to me. She couldn't understand anything now. Only after crossing hands with Lu Shueyu would she be able to find out what was the change in Lu Shueyu. If Lu Shueyu learned from Shangguan Luli, using her soul to make a deal with the dark forces, she would definitely be able to sense it. But Lu Shueyu shouldn't be that dumb, right? 1 hour later, the director and the elders were seated. Yiqing Luo noticed that there was an additional sage-like elder on the main courtyard's elder's seat, and the attitude of the other 2 elders were obviously humble towards him. Presumably, that sage-like elder was either the head dean of the headquarters or the vice-head dean of the headquarters. He was about to look away. However, he was met with a pair of smiling peach blossom eyes. Her heartbeat quickened. Dmo? That Supreme Mo was not wind in disguise, but Dmo himself. Didn't he say that he was going to settle the matter between the Imperial Palace and Fengling? Why did he turn into Supreme Mo? Cloud knocked on the gong and cleared his throat. After a series of opening remarks, he repeated the rules for the day. When he mentioned that each class would send out 100 students, he looked towards the Devil class's waiting area again. There are a total of 62 students in the devil class, so it's really unfair for the devil class to participate in the finals. But rules are rules, and it has always been like this. He paused for a moment and said calmly, "Therefore, I represent the Heavenly Academy to give the devil class a special privilege. As long as any student from the devil class shouts out admit defeat or surrender on the arena stage, the opposing class must immediately stop." The students from the other classes responded in unison. Chapter 1205. The minute this privilege was revealed, it immediately caused an uproar among the crowd. The commotion in the waiting area grew even louder. Wasn't this privilege a little too unreasonable? If they didn't stop, devil class would win? Once the profound chi was released, how could it be so easy to stop? Wasn't this asking them to maintain a cautious state during the battle? If devil class students intentionally shouted to admit defeat when they released their profound chi, then what should they do? But this privilege, if one were to explain in detail, was considered reasonable. After all, other than Yiqing Luo and that class monitor, there was nothing to rely on. And there were only 62 people in devil class. Momentarily, those who agreed and those who disagreed started to argue. Just at this moment, devil class who didn't show any joy towards this privilege started to speak out a few words, which were different from the rest. This privilege? We don't need it. Devil class doesn't need any privilege. Although the number of devil class can't be compared to the other classes, but our desire to win, our desire to have a fair battle, is absolutely not lower than the other classes. The voices of the devil class's students silenced all the clamorous discussions. Yun Duan wasn't angry, as though he had long guessed that devil class students wouldn't accept this privilege. This privilege was merely to shut up the crowd's mouths. Yun Duan looked towards devil class's waiting area. Devil class students, are you sure to give up this privilege? Yiqing Luo stood up and walked a few steps forward. She turned around and faced those youngsters sitting in the waiting area, smiling sweetly. Brothers, what's our slogan? The world is not dead yet, never surrender. Sonorous and forceful, with a hint of youthful immaturity, but powerful words, every word and sentence, seemed to be able to ignite the blood in countless people's hearts. Their gazes were firm, clenching their fists without fear. Repeating once again, the world is not dead yet, never surrender. They absolutely would not surrender. Even if they had to fight till the last second, they would absolutely not surrender. They were devil class students. The mercenaries from the World Mercenary Group. They were the ones who would stand at the top of the world in the future, accompanying the brothers they cared about, overlooking the mountains and rivers beneath their feet. The strongest team. Never surrender. These students' words made the expressions on the crowd's faces gradually congealed. Those who were initially mocking the devil class for not knowing what's good for them also became serious. There were quite a few profound practitioner warriors who had once fought on the battlefield, but in the end, because of their power and status, they were forever stationed in safe places. After hearing these words, the flame in his heart that had long been extinguished started to burn again. All right, the Heavenly Academy respects the thoughts of the students. If the devil class is willing to give up this privilege, then this privilege shall be nullified. Yin Duan looked at the devil class with admiration. Although these children weren't very strong, they were still very strong. But they had the heart of an expert. As long as they were given a chance to grow, these children, who had been called trash by the entire academy, would definitely blossom with dazzling brilliance. Yun Duan thought that after the competition ended, the elder quarters would definitely have a discussion and rebuild the devil class. Tisk, he's just putting on an act. He must think that he's going to lose for sure, so he might as well not give up on this special privilege. At least he can gain a good reputation. The students of High Profound Class 2 were discussing with sarcasm. Chapter 1206. That's enough. A soft reprimand came from the last row of High Profound Class 2. Lu Shuiyu's face was as cold as ice. Seeing their class monitor's ugly expression, the students were so scared that they shut their mouths immediately. You are students from High Profound class. Lu Shuiyu's icy cold voice was devoid of any emotions. Why lower yourself to insult a waste class and let the other forces see us as a joke? The students from High Profound class 2 felt that it was reasonable when they heard that. Each and every one of them nodded and bowed as they complimented Lu Shuiyu. This farce looked calm on the surface, but in actual fact, it was turbulent. The competition kicked off. Under Yin Duan's instructions, each class representative went up to draw lots. Every class's representative was the class monitor. As for Devil class, it was Yi Qing Luo who went up to draw lots. Under the tense atmosphere that Yin Duan deliberately created, the 4 of them held the wooden lots in their hands. Following Yin Duan's command, the 4 of them opened their palms at the same time, revealing the color of the wooden lots. Low Profound Class 2 versus High Profound Class 1. High Profound Class 2 versus War Devil Class. This result caused another uproar. Numerous people were ridiculing whether this High Profound Class 2 had cheated in this competition. Why was it that the wooden lots he had drawn were always against classes whose strength was worlds apart from his own? Numerous people were envious of the High Profound Class 2's good luck. However, there was no excitement on the faces of these 2 classes who were going against each other. More accurately, both classes were extremely calm, like the calm before the storm. The atmosphere in High Profound Class 2 was indeed a little strange. The crowd discussed for some time, but they didn't hear a word from High Profound Class 2. Then they realized that those students' eyes were fixated on Lu Shuiyu, as if they didn't dare to speak before she said something. The crowd was surprised. This Lu Shuiyu was the vice president of the faculty council, so it was normal for many students to respect her. But apparently those students were more afraid than respectful. Yes, it was fear. The students in High Profound Class 2 seemed to be very afraid of Lu Shuiyu. Looking at Devil Class Yi Qing Luo, after she returned to the waiting area, she casually passed the wooden lot in her hand to a student. She immediately sat back on her seat. Her expression was calm without any signs of nervousness. The onlookers could not help but feel puzzled. Yi Qing Luo felt that since she was going to lose anyway, she might as well let loose and do it easily. Qing Luo Lu Shuiyu is a little strange. Long Yunjian squinted his azure blue eyes. Yes. Yi Qing Luo responded calmly as her slender fingers rubbed her brows. Her feeling is different from yesterday, but I didn't sense any profound Yin Qi's presence from her. Yi Qing Luo's expression changed slightly. Lu Shuiyu was a smart person. Shangguan Liuli had already played with the mysterious Yin Qi badly. If Lu Shuiyu took the risk and made a deal with the dark forces, she had worked hard for a few years to become the vice president of the faculty council, but now it was completely ruined. Could it be? It was because of the competition these 2 days that High Profound Class 2 went from being an enviable class to being laughed at wherever they went. His heart was starting to twist. She tampered with the wooden stick. Long Yunjian glanced at the wooden stick in his hand coldly. Her target is us. Tampering? The head institute's elder was present, as were the representatives of the various powers and academies. Lu Shuiyu dared to make a move. Moreover, he did it right under her nose. Chapter 1207. Smell. Yi Qing Luo's expression instantly turned cold. Right. Earlier when they were drawing the wooden lots, Lu Shuiyu had specially asked Yun Duan to start from her. Using the smell, it was easy to know what color wooden lot she had drawn. Using the smell, Lu Shuiyu could also easily draw the wooden lot which matched the devil class. Lu Shuiyu did this. In order to target devil class, she took such a huge risk? If the academy found out that they had tampered with the wooden lots, their ending would definitely not be worse than intermediate profound class 2. They somehow felt that the Lu Shuiyu today was extremely strange. So strange that it sent chills down their spines. Since Lu Shuiyu's target is us, then she must be fully prepared for this competition. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she took a deep breath. This competition, we are here to prove ourselves, to prove the existence of devil class. So there's no need for you to hide anything, just give it your all. Devil class's students were stunned when they heard that. Give it their all? give it their all in the finals? Then, in tomorrow's finals, they would not be able to play any tricks that they were not prepared for. I don't want anything to happen to any of you. Don't forget you're still injured. Yiqing Luo's expression turned solemn as her eyes swept past these students. I don't want you to wait for the effects of the medicine to wear off, adding injuries on top of your injuries. Devil Class's students nodded their heads. After 2 days of competition, they had almost forgotten that their bodies could not take the strain of the competition. If they were injured during the competition, after the effects of the medicine had worn off, the injuries from the sneak attack, plus the side effects of the medicine, as well as new injuries, even if they didn't die, they would at least lose half of their lives. On the stage, the competition had already started. The first competition was the battle between Low Profound Class 2 and High Profound Class 1. In the Low Profound Class 2's team, Yiqing Luo saw her own brother, who had actually taken part in the competition. Qing Luo, isn't that your brother? Xiao Jin's sharp eyes also discovered Yi Fengyu standing in front of the team. Is he all right? Yiqing Luo slowly shook her head. After saving Yi Fengyu, she didn't go to see him. With old man Guiyu around, she believed that Yi Fengyu would be fine. But she had not expected Yi Fengyu to take part in the competition today. Yi Fengyu had suffered such heavy injuries in just 1 day. Could he really hold on until the end of the competition? Once he stepped onto the stage, he would have to fight to the very end, until all the students in his class collapsed. In her heart, she was worried for Yi Fengyu. However, she did not stand up, nor did she say anything to stop him from participating. His own body, he knew it well. Yi Fengyu was no longer a child. This was his choice, so let him carry it out to the end. She couldn't protect him forever. There were many things that Yi Fengyu had to solve himself. Since Yi Fengyu had chosen to participate in the battle while injured, even if he was heavily injured and collapsed on the arena, or was about to face death, that was also his choice. He's your brother. He must be confident. As though he could tell what Yiqing Luo was thinking about, Xiao Jin gently patted Yiqing Luo's shoulder as he consoled her. Yiqing Luo replied with an indifferent Because Yi Fengyu was also in the competition, everyone was watching this match very seriously. Chapter 1208. No matter if it was defending, counterattacking or supporting the students, or they would walk around the stage, continuously pushing the students of the opposing team out of the stage. He seemed to be doing it with ease. He didn't look like he was seriously injured at all. Unknowingly, he had attracted quite a number of gazes. Yiqing Luo was the most attentive. Others were probably looking at how agile his skills were, how fast his reaction was, and how strong his ability was. But in Yiqing Luo's eyes, she could only see a thin layer of cold sweat forming on his forehead. He could only see Yi Fengyu's body trembling slightly after he completed a series of counterattacks. She only saw his slightly frowning brows as he endured the pain. In the underground tunnel, he had suffered from the whipping from Yiqing Qian and Yiqing Ling, and had not fully recovered. He didn't specially stop the pain. He forced himself to take part in the competition. Since when did her Xiaoyu become so strong? Her heart ached very, very much. However, watching Yi Fengyu's performance on the stage, she felt a sense of gratification. A kind of feeling of a child who had been painstakingly raised, had finally become a dragon among men. Students from High Profound Class 1 could enter the High Profound Class. That meant they had outstanding innate talent and ability. In this competition, although under the strong cooperation of Low Profound Class 2, their defense was a little flustered. They had lost repeatedly in the beginning. Luckily, their reaction was fast. Very quickly they readjusted themselves, and then counterattacked. The competition on the stage immediately rose to the climax. Xiao Jin and the rest didn't even blink. Qing Luo, who do you think will win between the two classes? High Profound Class 1. Yiqing Luo answered without hesitation. At that moment, those youngsters who were watching with their blood boiling looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. Logically, Yiqing Luo, who was crazy about protecting her own, should support her own brother? Low Profound Class 2 and High Profound Class 1 are evenly matched. that is already low profound class 2's ability. Yiqing Luo analyzed the battle situation, and through this battle situation, she told them how to choose the battle situation which was advantageous to them, to carry on the battle. Low profound class 2's aptitude is limited, and after the battle started, they launched a ferocious attack, forcing high profound class 1 to retreat. But they have forgotten that their own ability is actually not as good as high profound class 1 students. The longer they fight, the more physical strength and profound energy they will consume. Naturally, low profound class 2 will show signs of fatigue in battle. As for the high profound class 1 students, not only are their talents stronger than low profound class 2, their physiques are also stronger than low profound class 2. Towards the end of the battle, it will be the high profound class 1 that will take over the battlefield. When Devil classes students heard that, their brows creased as they pondered over Yiqing Luo's words. Yan Xiaoyi suddenly understood and nodded. I understand, in fact this is the same as the first round of the preliminary round. Using our own physical strength, first exhaust the Xian Qi and physical strength of low profound class 1. Then counterattack, it's the same principle. Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile. Indeed, as Yiqing Luo had expected, just as the battle reached its climax, within the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the students of low profound class 2 were completely defeated due to their lack of stamina. Yi Fengyu, who had been circling around and creating space for them to deal with their enemies, seemed to have opened up his wounds. Blood soaked through his clothes. Drops of blood slid down Yi Fengyu's arm. The students of low profound class 2 no longer resisted, directly supported Yi Fengyu, and shouted to concede. This battle low profound class 2 lost, but their performance was seen by everyone present. She had even calmly stated her purpose. Did she think that she didn't have the guts to kill her? The coldness in Lu Shuiyu's eyes became increasingly sinister. Her red lips curled into a sneer. Confidence? Was he proud? She wanted to see how she was going to destroy Yiqing Luo's confidence and pride in this competition. She wanted to see Yiqing Luo become a laughingstock. Let those who trusted Yiqing Luo unconditionally hate her to the core from then on. Destroying a person does not necessarily mean killing her. Instead, he wanted her to live and suffer. Suffer devastation. No matter how strong you are just an earth-profound 4th grade cultivator. How many people can you fight against alone? Lu Shuiyu's delicate and cold face gradually turned sinister. A powerful profound qi, like a whirlwind, swept over in an unending stream. Lu Shuiyu released her own profound grade. Chapter 12:10. Was this Lu Shuiyu's strength? The onlookers were shocked. The students of each class were shocked. The students of the Devil class were all suspicious of Lu Shuiyu's power. Lu Shuiyu was the vice president of the faculty council. So many things were handled by other members of the faculty council. Lu Shuiyu took on the role of assistant and leader in every class training and competition. Over time, many students didn't have a deep understanding of Lu Shuiyu's true strength. He only knew that Lu Shuiyu was able to become the assistant of Si Yanmu, a student of the class of gods, and also the class monitor of high profound class 2. Her profound level must be extremely high, and she must be very strong. His memory of Lu Shuiyu's strength stopped at last year's interclass competition. It seemed that she had not yet stepped into the earth profound realm. But when Lu Shuiyu's profound rank burst out from her body, the whirlwind in the arena was completely out of control. Yiqing Luo speedily fanned her glower flame fan and rolled up a hurricane, blocking Lu Shuiyu's explosive imposing manner. The strong and terrifying whirlwind had an irresistible pressure. It was terrifying and horrifying. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. She wasn't hallucinating. Lu Shuiyu seemed to have changed into another person. This was not the aura that Lu Shuiyu should have. Yiqing Luo had crossed hands with Lu Shuiyu before, so she wasn't unfamiliar with Lu Shuiyu's presence. But after this mysterious qi appeared, it had a strange and terrifying aura. It wasn't Lu Shuiyu's aura. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly trembled. Could Lu Shuiyu be? In order to win, he intentionally found someone to replace him in the competition? My God! The vice president of the Heavenly Academy has such a high profound grade. Earth profound level 7. No. His Xianqi was still skyrocketing. Earth Xian 8th grade. He's already at the 8th grade of Earth profound realm. Impossible. I can't believe my eyes. Heavens. Heavens. Earth profound 9th grade. He's already at the 9th grade of Earth profound realm. The spectators stood up excitedly, pointed at Lu Shuiyu on the arena, and shouted excitedly. A 9th grade Earth profound Xian practitioner. He was only a step away from becoming a Sky Profound Supreme. In the entire West continent, the number of 9th grade Earth Profound practitioners that could be found could be counted on one's fingers. It was not just the onlookers who were excited. Even the dean, the elders, the headmaster, and the elders of the headmaster stood up in unison. He looked at Lu Shuiyu, who was at the 9th grade of the Earth Profound realm, in astonishment. This action instantly made the calm and elegant Supreme Mo, who was sitting leisurely on his seat, look extremely eye-catching. Dean Xian, what's going on? This student is so young and already so accomplished. Why is she in high profound class 2, and not allowed to study in the class of gods? The vice president of the general hospital furrowed his white eyebrows, and looked at the president. The shocked expression on the dean's face froze. He immediately smiled apologetically, and bowed to the vice dean of the headquarters. After this interclass competition, this student will be sent to the class of gods to study. The vice dean of the general hospital frowned, and stared at the dean for a long time. Then he retracted his gaze and looked back at the arena, at the student who had performed brilliantly. The dean felt a chill down his spine. A thin layer of cold sweat soaked his white robe. On the stage, under the resistance of Yiqing Luo and the other students, this burst of profound qi, which burst out from the body, was finally pushed back. Devil classes students wiped their sweat as they panted heavily, looking as though they had expended too much energy. In actual fact, their performance wasn't an act, although their current abilities had received a huge upgrade, and through their rapport, they could make up for the lack of profound grade. But the opponent was an Earth profound 9th grade cultivator. Powerful profound qi. They were able to withstand it and weren't injured. Chapter 12:11. Yiqing Luo's little face turned slightly pale as well. She held her glower flame fan tightly as her eyes squinted as she lowered her voice. You're not Lu Shuiyu. Her confidence did not cause the woman opposite her to show the slightest hint of panic. Instead, Lu Shuiyu laughed. She laughed sinisterly, so cold that it seeped into her bones. Where's the evidence? Without any evidence, who would believe you? Yiqing Luo's heart thumped. In other words, the lady in front of her, the lady who looked exactly the same as Lu Shuiyu, was indeed not Lu Shuiyu. Someone else had replaced Lu Shuiyu's identity to take part in this competition. This person's target was obviously her. And devil class. Then where was the real Lu Shuiyu now? Who was the person who replaced Lu Shuiyu? What was the reason why she replaced Lu Shuiyu to help high profound class 2 enter the finals? Yiqing Luo, based on your current ability, you dare to be distracted? Lu Shuiyu laughed coldly as the palm wind in her hands flashed, and a powerful profound qi shot out from her palms. That horrifying aura exploded towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo flipped the glower flame fan in her hands and set off an enchanting red glow. At the same time, her figure swiftly retreated a few steps. The strong palm wind collided with that red glow. In just a few breaths, the red glow suddenly dissipated. The palm wind brought along a strong pressure as it struck towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold as she immediately released her profound qi in an orderly manner to create a red barrier, blocking that palm wind. Her footsteps changed at this moment. At the same time that the barrier blocked the palm wind, Yiqing Luo's figure disappeared into thin air. But in a blink of an eye, she was already behind Lu Shuiyu. Bam! A loud sound was heard as a slender figure flew out. Qing Luo! Boss Qing Luo! Seeing that enchanting figure was actually sent flying by Lu Shuiyu's palm strike. The other devil class students' faces turned pale as they frantically shouted Yi Qing Luo's name. Long Yunzhan and the rest were anxious to rush over, but were obstructed by the high profound class 2 students. 99 students against 61 students. Even if the devil class students released all of their powers, he was afraid that he would not be able to gain any advantage against these 99 high profound class 2 students. The students of high profound class 2 seemed to have discussed this beforehand. No one went to help Lu Shuiyu to attack Yi Qing Luo. Everyone intentionally pulled apart the distance between devil class and Yi Qing Luo. The huge arena was divided into 2 parts. On one side was the high profound class 2 restraining the devil class. On the other side was Lu Shuiyu and Yi Qing Luo. Although Yi Qing Luo had suffered a palm strike, but luckily she had dodged in time, only the shoulder of her uniform was torn. This palm made Yi Qing Luo had no choice but to raise her guard as she looked at Lu Shuiyu vigilantly. This Lu Shuiyu was indeed at the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. This profound rank was not fake at all. The difference of 5 grades was comparable to the difference of a galaxy. Yi Qing Luo had been making use of her unique footwork, and even if it was one of the 4 great saint techniques of the dark forces, Wolf Saint technique, it had no way of detecting it. She had always been confident. He could rely on this set of footwork to protect his life in any situation. But this Lu Shuiyu's reaction was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. This Lu Shuiyu actually used her footwork to circle to her back and gave her a palm strike. Chapter 12:12. Earth Profound 9th grade was indeed powerful. It was totally different from Shangguan Liuli, who relied on profound Yin Qi to raise her profound grade. Yi Qing Luo had enough confidence to defeat Shangguan Liuli, who was also an Earth Profound 9th grade. But facing the mysterious person who was wearing Lu Shuiyu's face, to defeat this mysterious person, it was impossible to go head-on. "Is that all you've got?" Lu Shuiyu laughed mockingly. "I thought you could let me enjoy a little more. I didn't expect. It's going to end now." She stroked her hair with a bored look. "Rumors are indeed just rumors. Why do I need to waste so much energy to deal with a little waste like you?" Yi Qing Luo had long passed the age where she would be agitated by a provocation. Lu Shuiyu's mockery was of no importance to her. She glanced at the wound on her shoulder as her lips curled into a strange cold arc. Her 5 fingers clenched tightly as the fan in her hand opened up, and immediately a strong hurricane was blown up. Profound Qi went berserk as it crashed onto the arena. A biting cold red glow burst out from the devouring flame fan. She leapt up and the wind blades rose. "I should be the one asking you this." Boom! Boom boom boom. The wind blades shot out and the red glow appeared. The wind blades from all directions chased after Lu Shuiyu's evasive footsteps. The entire arena was hit by the waves of wind blades, and the ground was filled with gravel. The arena cracked and was on the verge of collapse. "You only have this bit of ability? Then, it's all up to me now." Yi Qing Luo's voice was extremely cold. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard an even more deafening explosion that resounded right in front of him. Yi Qing Luo displayed her footwork at the same time, and swiftly got closer to Lu Shuiyu. Lu Shuiyu, who totally disregarded Yi Qing Luo, had a gloomy expression. Earlier she felt that this lass was acting recklessly, and wanted to repeat the same old trick. Just as she wanted to take the opportunity to teach Yi Qing Luo a lesson, Yi Qing Luo's aura had completely disappeared, as if she had completely blended into the air, lost all her aura and suppression. But Lu Shuiyu was very clear. Yi Qing Luo absolutely could not disappear just like that. This knowledge made Lu Shuiyu's gloomy expression gradually brighten up. The corners of his mouth curled up into a strange arc. The game required the prey to make some shocking resistance. That would be interesting. Her greatest interest was, she watched as her prey struggled and tried to escape, but in the end, he couldn't escape from her palm. The despair of her prey was her joy. Devouring flame first fan. Twin dragons emerge from the sea. A melodious and sweet voice resounded in his ears. A red shadow flashed past. The two soaring fire dragons coiled around each other. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged towards Lu Shuiyu's face. The tyrannical profound qi fluctuated as the two dragons circled around each other, constantly colliding with the whirlwind created by Lu Shuiyu. Boom! The vast waves of qi emitted banging sounds. Lu Shuiyu was in the midst of her excitement, and Yiqing Luo's attack was too sudden. The huge dragon bit Lu Shuiyu's arm. Lu Shuiyu's sleeves were instantly burned to ashes, revealing her snow-white skin. Lu Shuiyu wasn't in a hurry to cover her arm. Instead, she reacted swiftly and released an even more powerful suppression, entering a stalemate with that huge dragon. The sneer and viciousness in Lu Shuiyu's eyes grew deeper, and there was a tinge of madness and excitement. TSK, Yiqing Luo, you're going to get serious. Come on, resisting prey. Let me hunt to my heart's content. She laughed softly. An exceptionally majestic suppression, at this moment, directly crushed that huge dragon into nothingness. Chapter 12-13. The soft whip was like a small black snake, smooth and translucent, and even faintly sparkling. There was an inexplicable eerie chill. The eerie atmosphere, along with the appearance of the soft whip, became more and more violent. Lu Shuiyu waved the soft whip, waving it in the air, making a paw-paw sound. Vice President's weapon is a soft whip? Why do I remember? Lu family is famous for their sword skills. Lu family's sword manual isn't Lu family's ultimate skill? That's right. I remember all the vice presidents used long swords when they participated in the class training. The surrounding students were in a heated discussion, looking at Lu Shuiyu on the stage in astonishment. Could it be? Actually, Lu Shuiyu's natal weapon was a soft whip? The long sword was just her secondary weapon? Although they felt it was strange, but none of the students deliberately said anything. What weapon to use was decided by the students themselves, and no one else had the right to interfere. Lu Shuilan, who was sitting at the waiting area, turned slightly pale. A pair of shocked and astonished eyes stared at Lu Shuiyu's direction in disbelief. She clenched her fists unwillingly. This person was really her sister? When did Lu Shuiyu learn to use the soft whip as her weapon? And when did his profound rank reach the 9th level of the Earth Profound Realm? As Lu Shuiyu's biological sister, she didn't even know when Lu Shuiyu broke through to the Earth Profound Realm. Lu Shuilan's heart sank bit by bit. She really could never be compared to Lu Shuiyu in this lifetime. Lu Shuiyu had been hiding it from her from the start. Hearing the surrounding discussions, Yiqing Luo stared at the soft whip in Lu Shuiyu's hand. So daring? Looks like you're not worried that your identity will be exposed. Lu Shuiyu laughed lightly. The soft whip in her hand curved and floated like a black soft snake. Exposed. I'm the eldest miss of the Lu family, Heavenly Academy Faculty Council's vice president. What other identity can be exposed? Saying that, Lu Shuiyu raised her brows, as her slender fingers covered her lips. I'd like to see how you can make others believe your nonsense. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed, and didn't reply. Before she could find any evidence that the opponent was not Lu Shuiyu, she rashly raised doubts to the main courtyard, doubting the authenticity of Lu Shuiyu. Not only would she be deceived by Lu Shuiyu and the mysterious man, she would probably fall here as well. Don't be overconfident too early, Yiqing Luo said lightly as the hand holding the glower flame fan swiftly tightened. Yiqing Shuiyu Qi. At the whip Lu Shuiyu Qi, the black snake charged wildly towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Like a snake with a scarlet tongue, it seemed to have a life of its own. But moments later, that soft snake directly swallowed the profound light, which Yiqing Luo released. Bang! There was a loud sound of profound qi colliding, and profound qi was dancing wildly in the surroundings. A gust of sinister black death qi, with the speed of a breath, instantly crushed Yiqing Luo's profound energy. Useless trash! How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? Lu Shuiyu's lips curled into a sinister smile. And. The students on the other side of the stage were stunned by the gloomy aura. The students of the two classes on the other side of the arena were stunned by the eerie aura. They all turned their heads and looked towards the direction of the aura. Chapter 12:14. Boss Qing Luo. Lu Shuiyu. Come at us if you can. This is a class competition. What right do you have to separate us? If you have the guts, then fight as a group. The devil class students stared fiercely at Lu Shuiyu, their faces filled with anxiety and ferocity. The high profound class 2 students recovered from the shock and immediately pounced towards the devil class once again. Devil class gritted their teeth in anger, but they had no way to defend against these beast-like high profound class 2 students. He could only shout out at the top of his voice, "Boss Qing Luo, come on, beat up that pretentious woman. Beat her. Beat her up." Perhaps it was the encouragement from the devil class's students, as it reached Yi Qing Luo's ears. Suddenly, Lu Shuiyu suddenly felt a sharp pain in her hand that had just brandished the whip. Immediately, she felt so numb that she couldn't even hold the whip tightly. Then, the soft whip suddenly appeared in her numb palm. It caused a violent tremor. It was as if it wanted to break free from her grasp. Like a real snake, it kept slithering around. Lu Shuiyu's pupils suddenly widened. She immediately stretched out her other hand and quickly grabbed her wrist. With a clatter, the whip fell to the ground. Lu Shuiyu staggered a few steps back. She was shocked, and her eyes were fixed on her wrist. Her slender fingers trembled as she tried to clench them, but his stiff and numb fingers couldn't even do something as simple as curling up. Well, what was going on? Lu Shuiyu wasn't the only one who was stunned. The crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. What happened? Why did Lu Shuiyu's weapon fall to the ground? Lu Shuiyu's complexion doesn't look good. Her hand. When did her hand get hurt? It seems like she can't move it. What happened? In order to pay attention to the Earth Profound 9th grade cultivator's battle process, I didn't even blink my eyelids. What on earth did student Yi Qing Luo do? The onlookers screamed in horror. They didn't even see clearly what was happening on the stage. Quick look. It was Yi Qing Luo. There she is. Someone in the crowd had sharp eyes and saw that Yi Qing Luo, who was originally suppressed by the black qi, had unknowingly broken free from the entanglement of the black qi. The red figure was like a night elf. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and she was as cold as frost. There was not the slightest trace of emotion on her beautiful face. It was calm and unperturbed like a pool of stagnant water, without the slightest ripple. Her speed was extremely fast. In just a few breaths of time, she had already rushed to Lu Shuiyu's side. The devouring flame fan in his hand opened up and slashed towards Lu Shuiyu's back like a red blade. Violent and ferocious profound qi spread out wantonly. Lu Shuiyu tried hard to adjust her breathing and move her hands. Suddenly, he heard the voices of the crowd. Her heart instantly tensed up, knowing that Yi Qing Luo would definitely attack from the back. Bang! With a loud bang, the arena exploded. The sharp blade cut straight into the ground. The splashing gravel hit Lu Shuiyu's body. Her fair arm was only grazed by a few pieces of gravel, but it was already cut open, and fresh blood immediately gushed out. After Lu Shuiyu evaded Yi Qing Luo's wind blade attack, she had already exhausted all her energy. The residual power of the profound qi hit her body. She lost her balance and fell heavily to the ground. Her entire body emitted a wave of intense pain. Lu Shuiyu was drenched in cold sweat as she panted heavily, bearing with the intense pain. Her malicious eyes stared towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, but she saw Yi Qing Luo standing expressionlessly in front of her. On Yi Qing Luo's face was an extremely ridiculing sneer. Chapter 12:15. Lu Shuiyu was stunned into a daze. Her body trembled as her malicious eyes were filled with a thick murderous intent. However, the pain and numbness all over her body made her lose the strength to even speak. A sentence of righteous indignation came out of her mouth, and became so soft that it couldn't be heard. But Yi Qing Luo heard it very clearly. Her pink lips rose slightly without the fluster of being exposed. Her smile was extremely shallow with a hint of ridicule. She raised her brows and chuckled. Where's the evidence? Who would believe you if you don't have any evidence? Yiqing Luo returned the same words to Lu Shuiyu. She couldn't produce any evidence that Lu Shuiyu was impersonated. Then, could Lu Shuiyu produce any evidence that she had poisoned her? Lu Shuiyu's face turned pale. You! She had not expected Yiqing Luo to use such a method to retaliate against her. She didn't believe it. Yiqing Luo really had some heaven-defying ability to poison her body without being discovered. Lu Shuiyu's eyes were malicious as she secretly adjusted the profound qi in her body. From the profound jade heart, she spread out her profound qi and searched her body. She wanted to see what poison Yiqing Luo had poisoned her body. Lu Shuiyu searched while sizing up Yiqing Luo's expression. She seemed to be trying to find a little bit of emotion from Yiqing Luo's face. But the result disappointed her. On Yiqing Luo's face, from the start till the end, maintained that ridiculing arc which seemed like a smile yet not a smile, giving a look of allowing her to casually search for the poison. Lu Shuiyu's heart thumped. Her petite body gradually turned stiff. The expression on her face turned green and then white. What did you do to me? There was no poison. There was no sign of poisoning in her body. However, the numbness and tingling sensation throughout her body was so obvious. If it wasn't poison, then what was it? Yiqing Luo touched her chin and smiled innocently. What did I do? Who saw what I did? She had never been a good person, nor was she a fair and just person who abided by the rules. Since Lu Shuiyu dared to find someone else to replace her and participate in the competition, it was fraud. She used her own way to retaliate, so why not? This should be called, all is fair in war. Vice President. Yiqing Luo, what did you do to the Vice President? This time, it was the high profound class 2 students' turn to panic. 99 people, intercepting 61 devil class students. During the interception, the high profound class 2 students could clearly feel it. They had originally thought that they could easily take down these useless students. He was actually able to counterattack under their encirclement. 61 devil class students, not a single one was missing. Instead, they had forced them to eliminate 15 students. The students of high profound class 2 were not fools. At this moment, how could he not understand that these devil class students were not the trash they had imagined? If Lu Shuiyu was unable to suppress Yiqing Luo, their high profound class 2, perhaps today would really be the end of this duel. They absolutely couldn't lose this match. They did not want to be demoted. High profound class 2 students anxiously rushed over to stop Yiqing Luo from eliminating Lu Shuiyu. However, he didn't have time to move his feet. Then he was entangled by the students of the devil class. You want to leave? The gold coin darts in Xiao Jin's hands directly condensed into shape, blocking those high profound class 2 students. Give them a taste of their own medicine. You dare to stop us. Even if we have to risk our lives, we will stop you. Chapter 12-16. Student Yiqing Luo. Student Lu Shuiyu. Suddenly, on the main seat of the stage, the director banged the table and stood up with a stern look. Student Lu Shuiyu, what's wrong with you? If one looked closely, they would be able to see a flash of sinister cold glint in his eyes. What on earth was Lu Shuiyu doing? Wasn't victory already in her grasp? What play was she playing now? Why did she suddenly lose her battle ability and directly fell onto the ground? She was an earth-profound 9th grade advanced cultivator. Just one step, and she would become a sky mystic overlord. No matter what, she couldn't possibly lose to a young lass like Yiqing Luo, right? Something must have gone wrong. The spectators were puzzled by Lu Shuiyu's sudden inability to battle. There were even some who guessed that Yiqing Luo had secretly played some tricks. But very quickly someone retorted, Yiqing Luo wasn't silly. How could she possibly play any tricks in front of thousands of people? The elder from the Heavenly Academy and the higher-ups? If Yiqing Luo really did something, the main courtyard had already called for a halt. At this moment, the moment the director spoke out, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Lu Shuiyu laid on the ground. Her petite body was still stiff. That bursts of piercing pain, accompanied by the numbness of her entire body, made her extremely miserable. Hearing the director's question, she forced herself to take a deep breath and wanted to tell him about her current situation, no matter if she was poisoned or not. As long as the director wanted to investigate this matter thoroughly, Yiqing Luo would definitely not be able to escape the suspicion. Even if there was no evidence, Yiqing Luo would also bear the reputation of suspicion. Student Lu Shuiyu's body doesn't seem to be very well. Yiqing Luo was the first to speak with a sincere smile. Student Lu Shuiyu's face seems to be a little uncomfortable. Why not we stop the competition and let the doctor take a look? Face. Lu Shuiyu's petite body suddenly stiffened. The expression on the director's face also froze. Following that, their four eyes met. Their expressions and interactions were extremely secretive. But Yiqing Luo, who had been paying attention to the both of them, had seen all of their emotions and interactions. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, as a smile bloomed on her lips. In the crowd's eyes, Yiqing Luo's words were said with sincerity and sincerity. Her eyes were filled with concern and a request to the dean. All these indicated Yiqing Luo's concern for Lu Shuiyu, who said that it was Yiqing Luo who did something, causing Lu Shuiyu to lose her ability to battle. See that? They were willing to stop the competition and let Lu Shuiyu go to the medical hall for treatment. There was no such thing as looting a burning house. Because Lu Shuiyu's body wasn't feeling well, she was directly eliminated. After all, a 9th grade Earth Profound Realm Xian practitioner was too shocking. Moreover, even if Yiqing Luo used Lu Shuiyu's inability to battle as an excuse to let High Profound Class 2 find a substitute, it was already considered as Devil Class's magnanimity. Now, Yiqing Luo directly said to stop the competition and let the doctor take a look at Lu Shuiyu. He didn't take advantage of the situation. He also did not take the opportunity to replace Lu Shuiyu, a 9th grade Earth Profound Xian practitioner. There were even some onlookers who spoke directly. If the matter of Lu Shuiyu losing her battle power was caused by Yiqing Luo, then he would swallow 10 caddies of sand in front of everyone. Hearing this oath, Yiqing Luo almost choked on her saliva. This crowd that trusted her so much, just because he trusted her so much. She promised that she would not let him have the chance to swallow these 10 caddies of sand. Chapter 12:17. Master Guiyu? That crazy old man who wanted to take Yiqing Luo as his disciple? That crazy old man who was so protective of his shortcomings? Lu Shuiyu had naturally heard of the rumors about Guiyu. She was also clear about Guiyu's ability. If Guiyu were to do the consultation, her identity would definitely be at stake. Immediately, Lu Shuiyu propped up her body, gritted her teeth and looked at the director. No need, I'm fine. But, student Lu Shuiyu doesn't look fine at all. Yiqing Luo continued to stab her. I said I'm fine, so I'm fine. Every word came out from the gaps of her teeth. When the last word of this sentence was spat out, Lu Shuiyu's tingling and numb feeling suddenly disappeared. Her tightly knitted brows had slightly eased up. The effect of the drug had it run out. Lu Shuiyu's expression suddenly changed. The soft whip in her hand swiftly lashed towards Yiqing Luo fiercely. The soft whip lashed the air, bringing a swoosh-swoosh sound. Immediately, Lu Shuiyu's figure was as agile as a soft snake. With a flip, she bypassed Yiqing Luo's side. That soft whip slid, bringing along an extremely ferocious profound qi. As if it had grown eyes, it wrapped around her body. That soft whip brought along a gloomy and cold air of death. When it stuck close to her skin, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but shiver. Damn! Lu Shuiyu was just bluffing. That's a good trick. Deliberately pretending to have no fighting power, taking the opportunity to sneak attack Yiqing Luo. This student Lu Shuiyu's scheming is simply too deep. Earth Profound 9th grade cultivator still needs to rely on sneak attack? Could it be that Lu Shuiyu can't defeat Earth Profound 4th grade Yiqing Luo? The onlookers were shocked by this change and started to discuss among themselves. No one had expected that Lu Shuiyu, who was lying on the ground, and even the director was alarmed, would suddenly launch an attack on Yiqing Luo and completely clamp down on Yiqing Luo. No matter who it was, They would also think in the direction of conspiracy theory. And the main character who was being discussed, Lu Shuiyu, turned a deaf ear to those questions. A pair of malicious eyes stared venomously at Yiqing Luo, who was restrained by the soft whip. His sinister laughter made one's hair stand on end. To her, it didn't matter what kind of infamy or slander Lu Shuiyu would encounter in the future. Her most important task was to act as Lu Shuiyu well and obtain victory in this competition, successfully eliminating Devil Class from the competition. Yiqing Luo, this time, you won't be able to escape even if you grow wings. Lu Shuiyu gritted her teeth as she whispered curses into Yiqing Luo's ear. She tightened her fingers and narrowed her eyes. The moment he moved his profound energy, a powerful aura instantly surged through the entire arena, covering the sky and covering the earth. The waves caused by the profound energy came one after another, layer upon layer, and they were like surging waves. This stance obviously wanted to skin Yiqing Luo alive in front of everyone. The students of Devil Class were on tenterhooks. The students of High Profound Class 2 could not be as excited as before. The leaders of their two classes. It made one's heart beat erratically. One moment he was wild with joy. One moment he was in a frenzy of fear. If this went on, the two leaders wouldn't fall. Their hearts couldn't take it anymore and fell down directly. Yiqing Luo's expression was still calm, as though the person who was restrained by the soft whip wasn't her. Chapter 12:18. Lu Shuiyu was obviously infuriated by Yiqing Luo's ridicule. That pair of sinister eyes was filled with a thick murderous intent. Looking at that gaze, Yiqing Luo absolutely believed it. If it wasn't for the fact that this mysterious person who impersonated Lu Shuiyu had her own mission and wouldn't dare to act rashly, this mysterious person would absolutely not hesitate to dismember her into thousands of pieces. Be angry, be furious. What she needed to do now was to provoke this mysterious person and make this mysterious person lose her rationality. Lu Shuiyu was an earth-profound 9th-grade cultivator. If she didn't use her wits and went head-on against the other party, then she was absolutely sick. Yiqing Luo wouldn't be so silly to do something like using an egg to hit a rock. Lu Shuiyu wanted to torture her so that she couldn't escape from the Five Fingers Mountain. Then, she would use the same method to torture Lu Shuiyu ruthlessly, to strike Lu Shuiyu as self-confidence. Such a proud person, to be schemed against again and again, until she had no way to resist, and even lost her face. What would happen to her? A person in the midst of rage would lose her rationality. Her mind wouldn't think of anything else. Lu Shuiyu would definitely reveal a flaw. Once she grasped Lu Shuiyu's flaw, would she be afraid of not being able to defeat Lu Shuiyu and expose Lu Shuiyu's identity? Smile. Smile. Continue to smile for me. Lu Shuiyu's face revealed a sinister look as her slender fingers directly grabbed Yiqing Luo's neck. Yiqing Luo didn't move and couldn't move. She was forced to raise her head high as her slender jade-like neck was violently grabbed by Lu Shuiyu. But Yiqing Luo's expression was still that calm. Vaguely, there was a trace of feeling that made one's heart sink. Fell into a trap. Lu Shuiyu looked at the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips as a trace of panic flashed past her sinister eyes. She increased the strength in her hands in an attempt to make Yiqing Luo lose her consciousness and unable to counterattack. But her 5 fingers exerted a little force, and that familiar and horrifying pain and numbness struck her again. The next moment, Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan had already shot out 2 rays of red light and struck directly on Lu Shuiyu's chest. Lu Shuiyu let out a blood-curdling scream, and her whole body flew backwards. At the same time, the soft whip wrapped around Yiqing Luo's arms also slid down from her body. The whip was like a snake. When it fell to the ground, it actually swam towards Lu Shuiyu at an extremely fast speed. But no matter how fast the whip was, but not as fast as Yiqing Luo's speed. Just as the whip was about to wrap around Lu Shuiyu's arm, a shadow flashed past. A foot stepped on the whip. In an instant, the whip seemed to have lost all its spiritual energy and fell limply to the ground. Lu Shuiyu was unable to move. It was like numerous silver needles were constantly pricking her internal organs, causing her to be drenched in cold sweat. Lu Shuiyu's face sunk as she stared at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. What was going on? Yiqing Luo was bound by her, and had no chance to move. How could he poison her? Lu Shuiyu's self-confidence and arrogance had been completely destroyed by Yiqing Luo's poison. Yiqing Luo stepped on Lu Shuiyu's whip, and looked down at her condescendingly. The corners of her lips curled up, forming an extremely shallow cold arc. Student Lu, you've already fallen into my trap once, and still don't know how to be smart. The cold voice was like a pearl falling on a plate, crisp and melodious. But in Lu Shuiyu's ears, it was ear-piercing and made her sick of it. Chapter 12:19. Lucky my ass. Lu Shuiyu was so angry that she almost vomited blood. So Yiqing Luo was a medicine person? She had so many different kinds of poisons on her? From Yiqing Luo's words, it was obvious that Yiqing Luo had more than one kind of poison on her. Don't be agitated. The more agitated you are, the more the numbness and pain will seep into your limbs and bones. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes innocently, and, the more agitated I am, the longer the duration of the medicinal effect will be. You. Lu Shuiyu's face turned pale as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were filled with malice. Lu Shuiyu had not expected Yiqing Luo's brain to turn so fast. Relying on the fact that she could not reveal her identity, and knew that she could not reveal her identity, deliberately using such a method, even if she was poisoned, she would not dare to seek help from the director. Once she sought help, Yiqing Luo would definitely implicate Old Man Guiyu. Even the director couldn't suppress Old Man Guiyu. By then, the fact that she was not Lu Shuiyu would be made known to the public. Moreover, there was no trace of any poison in her body. Even if she had to sacrifice her identity, she had to drag Yiqing Luo into the water, insisting that Yiqing Luo had poisoned her. But there was no evidence, so the main courtyard would not believe it. Sinister. Too sinister. Yiqing Luo, this slut. How could she be so sinister? Lu Shuiyu was so angry that her face was twisted. Yiqing Luo snorted lightly and no longer had the mood to tease her. So Student Lu, goodbye. Lu Shuiyu's heart sank. A drop of cold sweat rolled down from her forehead. She stared at Yiqing Luo in horror. Suddenly, there was a sharp pain in her abdomen. Lu Shuiyu only felt that her body seemed to fall apart, as a force of gravity pushed her backwards. Bam bam bam. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, Lu Shuiyu was pushed to the side of the arena, and a large area was crushed. The surrounding people drew in breaths one after another. The crowd's expression changed greatly, feeling that it was inconceivable. On the arena, the strong pressure set off a hurricane, and the entire arena was awed. The strong wind blew against the young lady in red standing on the stage, as her clothes fluttered, as if she was a flower petal that bloomed along with the wind. She just stood there with a calm expression on her face. But Lu Shuiyu was lying in the debris of the wooden frame. There was blood at the corner of her mouth, and there were cuts on her body from the wooden frame. The place where Lu Shuiyu was outside the arena. Lu Shuiyu was eliminated. The expressions of the onlookers changed drastically. Earth Profound 9th grade Lu Shuiyu was struck down from the arena by Earth Profound 4th grade Yiqing Luo. Furthermore, it seemed that Yiqing Luo had obviously not used her full strength. Furthermore, Lu Shuiyu tried to cheat again and again. In the end, he still wanted to use the same method to make Yiqing Luo fall for it once again. As a result, the scene exploded. Lu Shuiyu's character is really questionable. She deserves to lose. Vice President of Faculty Council. I don't know what's going on with the Heavenly Academy this year. How can such a person be the vice president? Isn't he leading the students astray? An outstanding student like student Yiqing Luo was allocated to Devil class. That kind of waste class. It's imaginable that the current Heavenly Academy's foresight and ability to analyze students' abilities are no longer as good as before. The best academy is indeed just a legend. Voices of doubt, pity and discussion rose one after another. Chapter 1220. Perhaps Lu Shuiyu's repeated sneak attacks had infuriated the crowd. Those onlookers followed the topic and became more and more heated. Those discussions made the director's face sunk. He was so infuriated that he slammed the table heavily and berated sternly. Student Yiqing Luo, what on earth is going on? The rest of the high-profound Class 2 students immediately went forward to help their eliminated class monitor up. There was also a doctor who rushed over to take Lu Shuiyu's pulse after receiving the director's secret reminder. Yiqing Luo's posture was languid as she yawned and gave a faint smile. What else could it be? Student Lu had already lost her battle ability, and I eliminated her. Could it be? I did something wrong? How could student Lu Shuiyu possibly lose her battle ability? The director's eyes were scarlet red as he was overwhelmed with fear and shock, unable to maintain his composure on the surface. He knew that this Lu Shuiyu was not the real Lu Shuiyu. As long as she made her move, she would definitely be able to eliminate Yiqing Luo today. How could the result turn out to be like this? At this moment, not only was there no way to answer to the Lord, this matter had caused various forces to question the Heavenly Academy's ability. Over the years, the Heavenly Academy had always been the best academy, the role model for other academies, and the target which they respected and yearned for. Now it was being doubted. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly when she heard that. Her eyes were filled with mockery as she stood in the ring. Her charm was outstanding and her aura was majestic. She smiled and spoke in a calm voice. Why did student Lu lose her battle ability? I'm afraid the director will have to ask student Lu to get the answer. Doctor. The director fiercely glared at Lu Shuiyu, who was surrounded by the high-profound Class 2 students and the doctor, as he gritted his teeth and shouted. That doctor's hand was still on Lu Shuiyu's pulse. His old face looked flustered and helpless. Hearing the director's stern shout, the doctor's hands and feet trembled as he raised his head and looked at the director. Licking his dry lips with difficulty, the doctor's voice trembled as he bit his head. Director, student Lu suffered some internal injuries due to the impact earlier. Her body is what? Don't hemming and hawing. The director shouted angrily. The doctor took a deep breath. Student Lu's body is fine. In other words, he didn't find anything wrong with Lu Shuiyu's body. That was to say, Lu Shuiyu was suddenly unable to move during the battle. Or perhaps she was suddenly crushed by Yiqing Luo in minutes. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was playing tricks in the dark. Could it be? Was the speculation of the onlookers true? Was Lu Shuiyu intentionally showing weakness and taking the opportunity to restrain Yiqing Luo to achieve her own goal? The dean looked at Lu Shuiyu suspiciously. He gestured to her that if she had any questions, she should take this opportunity to ask them. Just as he was about to speak, an elegant voice came from the seats of the headquarters. Could it be that the dean has doubts about Lu Shuiyu's elimination? The dean's scarlet eyes and furious expression flashed past his face. The headmaster quickly turned his head and put on a flattering smile on his face. He laughed dryly and said, Supreme Teacher Mo, I was just curious and asked a few questions. DMO Xian's red thin lips hooked up. His elegant face revealed a trace of cold intent. Why do I feel that the dean doesn't wish for Devil Class's student Yi to win? Chapter 1221. DMO Xian gave a slight smile and didn't say another word. The director was frightened and didn't dare to say another word. Only his peripheral vision would glance at Lu Shuiyu from time to time, hoping to find out some information from her. But Lu Shuiyu was surrounded by a group of students and had no chance to exchange glances with him. Lu Shuiyu's elimination made those high-profound Class 2 students' hearts sink as their expressions changed drastically. Earth Profound Grade 9's backbone was eliminated by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo came over to help these Devil Class students, where would they have any chance to retaliate? High-profound Class 2's students swallowed their saliva nervously as they stared vigilantly at this group of lazy to the extreme, like trash Devil Class students. What kind of trash students were they? These were obviously a group of wolves in sheep's clothing. As for those onlookers, when they saw the high-profound Class 2's students' vigilant expressions, As though they were facing a formidable enemy, they started to ridicule them. High Profound Class 2's students wanted to cry, but had no tears. Saying it so easily, if they had the ability then come up and try. This pack of wolves will bite you until there's nothing left of you, okay? Suddenly Yiqing Luo moved. High Profound Class 2's students' calves started to turn soft. They stared anxiously at Yiqing Luo, who was standing on the other side of the stage. Drops of cold sweat rolled down from the High Profound Class 2's students' foreheads. Their breathing was hurried as their muscles tensed up. Yiqing Luo's footsteps were extremely slow as she walked towards the front. That fluttering red dress drew a red glow. That devastatingly beautiful face had an extremely shallow smile, looking elegant and moving. Every step she took, High Profound Class 2 students all took a step back, until Yiqing Luo's figure got nearer and nearer. High Profound Class 2's students' suspenseful hearts were about to jump out from their hearts. They put on a defensive posture, preparing for a life and death struggle. But unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo directly passed them and walked to the side of the stage. Everyone's vision and gazes were concentrated on her. The direction where Yiqing Luo was standing was facing. It was Lu Shuiyu who was surrounded by the other High Profound Class 2 students. Yiqing Luo looked down condescendingly at the pale-faced lady, who was leaning in the student's arms, as a playful smile bloomed on her lips. Lu Shuiyu's pupils suddenly widened as she stared venomously at Yiqing Luo. His body tensed up, and he was so angry that he was trembling. A few female students beside him whispered, "Vice President." They were extremely worried. Yiqing Luo bent down. "Student Lu, congratulations, you're free." Lu Shuiyu's eyes were hurt by his arrogant demeanor. She trembled as she stared at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. He couldn't believe that he would be defeated by a 15-year-old girl. He swore that a little girl was just a matter of moving his fingers. But in the end, instead, she had been humiliated to this extent by a little girl. Yiqing Luo actually humiliated her in such a manner. In the face of Lu Shuiyu's resentful and murderous gaze, Yang Kai felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo was extremely magnanimous. Using poison was indeed shady and sinister. But so what? If Lu Shuiyu were to compete with Devil Class fair and square, she would never use such a method to win. What she did was merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. That was all. After today, Lu Shuiyu's reputation would be completely ruined. Her position as faculty council's vice president was probably not going to be stable anymore. And this person who impersonated Lu Shuiyu to participate in the competition, probably for the time being, there was no way to find trouble with her. Chapter 1222. Returning back to the stage, Yiqing Luo smiled at those High Profound Class 2 students and said indifferently, "Don't worry, we will go easy on you." Saying that, her gaze glanced at the Devil Class students. The Devil Class students' eyes lit up as they howled and pounced towards the High Profound Class 2 students. Yiqing Luo didn't join the battle. She stood on the other side of the stage, watching the battle with her arms crossed. The students from the two classes were fighting in a mess. This battle took up an extremely short amount of time. It was just a jaw sticks time. High Profound Class 2 students were all thrown out of the stage, all eliminated. Yeah. We won. We won. The Devil Class students hugged each other excitedly. They cheered, shouted, and were extremely excited. Won. The Devil Class students actually won. And under the circumstance that Yiqing Luo didn't participate in the battle, they won. The crowd couldn't regain their senses for a long time. They looked at the stage in shock. Those excited young faces on the stage. Not only did the Devil Class students win, and under the circumstance that no one in the class was eliminated, they won the battle. Looking at the past years of interclass competitions, there was no class who was able to walk to the end without one student being eliminated. Devil Class was the first. The only thought in the crowd's mind was, could that private bet still be placed again? Was it too late for them to change their bet to Devil Class now? Even Yin Duan was stunned for a long time before he regained his senses. On the stage, The winner of the battle was announced, Devil Class. Following that, the two classes who advanced to the finals began to be announced. Devil Class and High Profound Class 1 advanced to tomorrow's finals. After the battle between the two classes, the class who won would be the champion of this year's class competition. The reason why Devil Class was excited was because of this. They were getting closer and closer to the champion's position. After tomorrow, their boss Qing Luo wouldn't need to worry about the blood oath. Just as Yun Duan finished announcing the rules of tomorrow's competition, suddenly a clear voice rang. Elder Yun Duan, I represent High Profound Class 1. Tomorrow's finals we admit defeat. Admit defeat? The crowd was shocked. What kind of show was this? High Profound Class 1 actually admitted defeat? This was forcing them to lose all their money in a private bet. Admit defeat? Why did High Profound Class 1 admit defeat? The dean was also stunned as he stood up excitedly. The onlookers pricked up their ears. Now there were only two classes left, High Profound Class 1 and Devil Class. Moreover, the finals would involve all the students in the class competing together. There are close to 500 students in High Profound Class 1. The Devil Class only had 62 students. Even if they couldn't defeat Yiqing Luo, they could just send a few hundred students to surround her. Sending another 100 people to deal with the other Devil Class students was more than enough. Winning the championship was simply too easy. Victory had completely fallen into the hands of High Profound Class 1. He actually admitted defeat? Are the students of High Profound Class 1 sick in the head? No one could understand why High Profound Class 2 admitted defeat. In the waiting area of High Profound Class 1, Dong Huanglang and Qi Yijing walked out of the crowd. Their brown uniforms made them look imposing. Dong Huanglang smiled warmly and spread his hands. We know that the Devil Class will definitely be the champion, so we don't want to waste everyone's time. We are already very satisfied that the High Profound Class 1 has come this far. Chapter 12:23. What kind of joke was this? How could they not be a match for the Devil Class? 400 over people against 62. Still not a match. The students from High Profound Class 1 must have gone mad. The crowd drew in a breath of cold air, unable to comprehend the actions of High Profound Class 1. If they admitted defeat now, it would mean that they had pushed the leader's position to the Devil Class. The might of Devil Class. No matter what we from High Profound Class 1 say, none of you will believe it. But the students from High Profound Class 2 have experienced it personally, so you should believe what they say. Those students who were called out were still in a daze. They were supported by their own students back to the waiting area of High Profound Class 2. Hearing the question from High Profound Class 1, their expressions changed abruptly, as their lips trembled. Some even revealed a terrified expression. The whole class is a pack of wolves. We are not their match at all. No, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. There's no suspense in the competition. It's totally looking for abuse. What's there to fight for? The crowd was even more shocked. If it was said that High Profound Class 1 admitted defeat, they could find excuses. For example, Yiqing Luo agreed to some conditions from High Profound Class 1, or made a deal, etc. For example, Yiqing Luo threatened High Profound Class 1, etc. All in all, Devil Class's ability was not as good as High Profound Class 1. There was definitely a problem for High Profound Class 1 to admit defeat. But High Profound Class 2's students described it personally. That proved that Devil Class's students indeed had a strength that they were unable to discern. One must know, before the competition, High Profound Class 2's students were still in high spirits, looking as though they were entering the finals. But now they were frightened by Devil Class, shivering incessantly. Where exactly was the strength of Devil Class? Why were thousands of pairs of eyes unable to see what the Devil Class's students had done? Could it be Devil Class's students were so strong that no one present could see their actions? High Profound Class 1 is very smart. An elegant voice sounded clear and melodious. Dmo Xian stood up slowly, his white robe fluttering like a deity. Dong Huanglang and Qi Yijing looked at each other and smiled. We just want to retain the dignity of High Profound Class 1. This wasn't just their opinion, but the entire High Profound Class 1's opinion. Earth Profound 9th grade Lu Shui Yu was easily crushed in Yiqing Luo's hands. No matter what method Yiqing Luo used to make Lu Shui Yu lose her battle ability, that was Yiqing Luo's methods and ability. There were also 61 Devil Class students who managed to not be eliminated from the class, even though they were sandwiched between the 99 High Profound Class 2 students. Instead, they managed to eliminate the other 99 students. It was enough to show that Devil Class students were not as simple as they looked on the surface. Take a look at High Profound Class 2. They have now become the laughingstock of the crowd. They might as well admit defeat. At the very least, they wouldn't have lost so badly in tomorrow's match. In the end, they wouldn't have been told that 500 people couldn't defeat 62 people. Moreover, when the spectators knew the true power of Devil Class, these people would definitely praise them for their intelligence. Cough cough. Cloud cleared his throat. He couldn't believe that things would turn out like this. Based on past years, even if they knew they would lose, those classes would fight until the very last moment, and would never admit defeat. After all, no one knew what would happen if it didn't happen, and a miracle could happen at any time. In that case, High Profound Class 1 has decided to admit defeat and stop at the finals? Cloud repeated his question. Dong Huang Lang and Qi Yijing turned back and looked at the waiting area of High Profound Class 1. Chapter 1224. The moment High Profound Class 1 shouted in unison, the crowd's wails rang throughout the entire West Lawn Square. Don't admit defeat. You can still fight. Stop joking. There are close to 500 people in your High Profound Class 1. Devil Class only has 60 over people. Why can't we fight? High Profound Class 1, don't be a coward. Stand up and continue fighting. If you admit defeat, we'll have to pay a huge loss. One of them mentioned about the private bet. Immediately, those spectators who had bought the betting tickets then remembered that they had spent a huge sum of money to buy the betting tickets. Their intestines were green with regret. One by one, they howled loudly, asking High Profound Class 1 to continue fighting for their betting tickets. Perhaps they could still win, and even turn the tables around. As for those pitiful Devil Class, those who had bought Devil Class started cheering excitedly. A total of 3,000 over betting tickets. Only 200 over people bought Devil Class. Even if they bought less, they could still earn quite a lot of money. Under the crowd's astonishment, grief and howls, Cloud finally announced. In this round of interclass competition, only one class has entered the finals, Devil Class. Congratulations to Devil Class for entering the finals. When this announcement came out from Cloud's mouth, the entire West Lawn Square fell into a dead silence. After the announcement, even if High Profound Class 1 didn't want to admit defeat, they wouldn't have another chance. From the moment Cloud announced the end, Devil Class, they had become the only class in the finals which was also the champion of this interclass competition. The final champion was Devil Class. This result was totally out of everyone's expectations. At this moment, the crowd suddenly heard a sharp voice. Impossible. Yiqing Luo, you slut. You must have done something in the dark. How could Devil Class possibly win? How could they possibly win? The crowd looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a disheveled Shangguan Luli, pointing at the stage with a crazed look as she cursed. Behind him, a few tall guards were holding on to Shangguan Luli and dragging her back. But Shangguan Luli somehow had the strength to break free from the guard's restraint. She raised her voice, cursing in a heart-wrenching voice. You framed me. You caused me to become like this. You even framed High Profound Class 2 and Class 1. What right do you have to be the champion? Your Devil Class is just a bunch of trash. I refuse to accept this. I can't accept this. Shangguan Luli had already gone completely crazy after hearing Yun Duan announce that Yiqing Luo had won the championship. She couldn't handle the news and went crazy. How could Yiqing Luo possibly win the championship? How could the Devil Class win first place? She didn't believe that all of this was fake. She did not believe it at all. Devil class is the waste class of the Heavenly Academy. The students who are assigned to the Devil class are the students with the worst qualifications in all the years that they entered the academy. They were the vermin of the Heavenly Academy. Heavenly Academy's trash. How could he possibly win the final victory in the interclass competition? The current Heavenly Academy's comprehensive strength is so weak? Even a trash class can win first place? Anyway, he had already been expelled from the academy. Shangguan Liuli no longer had a future to speak of. Questioning the academy and insulting the academy were nothing to her anymore. Chapter 12:25. Evidence. Shangguan Liuli suddenly quietened down. She raised her head and glanced at the director with a smile, which didn't look like a smile, as she laughed softly. "Sir Director, what face do you have to pretend to be innocent in front of me? Don't think that I don't know about your trivial matters. Now I have nothing to worry about. At most it's a life and death struggle. I'll spill out all your trivial matters." "You." The director was so infuriated that his face turned red, as though he was humiliated. In actual fact, he was so infuriated that he was gritting his teeth, wishing that he could stuff Shangguan Liuli's mouth. When he knew that Shangguan Liuli had no value to be used, he should have gotten someone to kill her directly. "You dare to let Yiqing Luo win first place. I dare to spill out your matters." Shangguan Liuli saw that the director had been intimidated, as she started to talk about the conditions unscrupulously. When the guards behind heard this, they stopped their actions of dragging Shangguan Liuli away forcefully. Heavenly Dean's trivial matters? The Heavenly Dean's handle? If the Shangguan family could make use of this handle, with the help of the Heavenly Academy, perhaps there was a way to regroup? Unreasonable. Unreasonable. The director's face was dignified, as he pointed at Shangguan Liuli, as he was so angry that he was trembling. "I'm upright. I'm not afraid of any slandering. I can take it." He squinted his eyes slightly, as his astute and dignified gaze swept past the two guards behind Shangguan Liuli. As his voice sunk, "Shangguan Liuli, I allow you to spout nonsense. That's on account that you were once a student of the Heavenly Academy. If you continue to be unreasonable, then don't blame me for rectifying the atmosphere of the Heavenly Academy." Shangguan Liuli laughed maniacally. "My beloved Sir Director, are you really not afraid that I'll put you in hay?" Ugh. Before she could finish her words, her mouth was suddenly blocked by someone. Those two guards who originally didn't intend to interfere seemed to have received some orders, as they suddenly rushed forward and tightly covered Shangguan Liuli's mouth. Ugh. Ugh ugh. Shangguan Liuli struggled with all her might. This time he was unable to break free from the two of them. Another guard cupped his fists towards the dean. "Apologies, Dean. Today our fifth miss was clamoring to watch today's competition. That's why we brought fifth miss here. But we didn't expect that fifth miss would lose control of her emotions because of the devil class winning the championship and slander Dean like that." "That's right, Dean Xian. Ever since our fifth miss was expelled from the academy, she has been acting crazily. It's our fault for not managing fifth miss well and disturbing everyone. We brothers apologize to everyone here." The expression on the dean's face softened a little. He narrowed his sinister eyes and looked at Shangguan Liuli with a dignified look. "Slander me? I don't mind, but this Heavenly Academy is my lifeline. I will never allow anyone to question the Heavenly Academy." The two guards apologized profusely. Then, he carried Shangguan Liuli on his shoulder and hurriedly wanted to leave this place. "Wait." A sweet voice that was as crisp as a silver bell rang out leisurely. They saw Yiqing Luo, who was standing on the arena stage, suddenly flew up and directly leapt in front of Shangguan Liuli. That peerless beauty was unparalleled. Dressed in a red dress, she was like a stunning flower that bloomed in the flames. She smiled faintly as she gazed at Shangguan Liuli. It's only been a day and fifth Miss Shangguan has turned into such a state. Looks like after fifth Miss Shangguan failed in the preliminary round, she was completely abandoned by the dark forces. Shangguan Liuli, who was originally carried on the guard's shoulder, stared at her venomously, grinding her teeth. Chapter 1226. The one who ruined everything, ruined your future. Whether it was me or you know it best. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she looked at Shangguan Luli's crazed face. She knew that this young lady had been completely devoured by the dark forces. Shangguan Luli had gone crazy. What supported her to live till now was her hatred and resentment towards Yiqing Luo. To what extent could a person's resentment reach? Shangguan Luli was a living example. Her resentment was so strong that it was enough to support a dying body to appear in front of her. Shangguan Luli, do you still remember the blood vow we made? Yiqing Luo smiled. Shangguan Luli's pupils constricted as she screamed sharply. Following that, she struggled even more fiercely. Slut! You despicable, shameless slut! Our blood vow was, if the devil class won first place, you will destroy your profound jade heart and break all the veins in your limbs. Do you still remember? Yiqing Luo wasn't affected by Shangguan Luli's craziness as she continued talking. Her slender fingers covered her mouth as she yawned. I thought I could let you live for another day, but I didn't expect that today the smart class, high profound class 1, has chosen to admit defeat. Then, this also means that I am the champion of this year's interclass competition. After a pause, she continued. It also means that I have won our bet. Yiqing Luo's words were not to belittle the high profound class 1. She specially used the word smart class, which Dmo Xian mentioned, and used it on the high profound class 1. With Dmo Xian's current status, he could even say a few words in the headquarters. His recognition of high profound class 1 meant that he was indeed praising high profound class 1. Shangguan Luli clenched her fists tightly, as she had no words to refute. They made a blood vow. No one dared to go back on their words, and no one could violate the bet. Because no one could escape the curse of the blood vow. The craziness on Shangguan Luli's face was gradually replaced by fear. She wasn't willing to fulfill the bet, as she didn't want to lose her profound jade heart. She who was expelled from the academy had completely become a target of bullying in the Shangguan family. She was able to live until now, completely relying on the profound jade heart, relying on the profound rank to survive. If he lost his profound heart jade, his meridians would be crippled, and he would become a cripple. The Shangguan family would definitely abandon her. She would become an abandoned cripple. Shangguan Liuli's body began to tremble in fear. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. The corners of her long and narrow eyes were filled with a chilly killing intent. Even if Shangguan Liuli was about to die, she did not intend to let her off so easily. She wanted Shangguan Liuli to experience endless pain while she was still alive, to lose all her faith. This was the consequence of Shangguan Liuli cooperating with the dark forces. This was the result of Shangguan Liuli using the mysterious Yin Qi to attack her brothers again and again. Her brother was her reverse scale. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and shot a cold glance at that guard. The guard felt his hair stand on end, and a chill ran down his spine. Yiqing Luo's gaze towards him was filled with an eerie deathly aura. Subconsciously, he threw Shangguan Liuli onto the ground, not daring to go against Yiqing Luo. Earlier, the guard had seen with his own eyes how Shangguan Liuli crushed the earth profound 9th grade Lu Shuiyu without any pressure. In order to save his life, how could the guard care about this 5th miss who had already become a cripple? What's more, the matter of 5th miss and Yiqing Luo's bet was already known by everyone. Chapter 1227. Yiqing Luo nodded her head in satisfaction. She slowly walked to Shangguan Liuli's side and slightly bent down. Looking down at Shangguan Liuli who was lying on the ground, she said with a light smile, 5th Miss Shangguan, do you think we should start with the profound heart jade, or the tendons? You dare. Shangguan Luli crawled a few steps back in terror. Her eyes widened as she stared at Yiqing Luo in shock. But when she saw Yiqing Luo's smiling eyes, Shangguan Luli only felt an extremely cold chill from the bottom of her feet to her head. That chill was like the death chi from hell, summoning her. This knowledge made Shangguan Luli's face turn even paler. She screamed in terror as she kept kicking her legs and crawling backwards. You slut! You dare to touch my profound jade heart. You dare to touch my meridians. I will not let you off even if I become a ghost. You can't even deal with me when you're a human. What more when you're a ghost? Yiqing Luo ridiculed softly as the corners of her lips curled up in ridicule. Following that, she raised her little hand. A ray of red light moved in her palm. She raised her palm up high and aimed at Shangguan Luli's heart as she fiercely poked. Stop! The gentle voice was like an oriole's cry. A white figure approached from afar and swiftly stood in front of Yiqing Luo. That snow-white long dress was like a blooming white lotus. Student Yi, we're classmates after all. Why are you so overbearing? She creased her pretty brows as a sliver of displeasure appeared in between her brows, as though she felt that Yiqing Luo's actions were extremely shameless. That originally beautiful, exquisite and cold face, because of the frowning expression, made all the men present feel pity, wanting to take this lady into their arms and dote on her. The number one beauty. It's the number one beauty, student Zi Qianqian. So beautiful. Heavens, my heart. The crowd stared at that lady in a daze as their hearts started to become infatuated. One red and one white, one beautiful and one charming. Two completely different types of ladies, but had the same stunning looks standing together. This made all the men feast their eyes, wishing that their eyeballs could stick on these two. Zi Qianqian. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. The name sounded familiar, and Rupin seemed to have mentioned it before. In this year's interclass competition, there was an additional round to challenge the overseer. It seemed like the class that won the 7 classes in the Heavenly Academy could choose to compete with the top authors. And this overseer was Zi Qianqian. When she saw Zi Qianqian's looks, Yiqing Luo completely understood why she felt that this lady was so familiar. It was not Rupin's nagging. Instead, this was not the first time they had met. When he went to the tomb of the Ling King, he met the vice-captain of the Killing God mercenary group, Zi Qianqian. That arrogant and complacent girl. Unexpectedly, she was actually a student of the class of gods, and the overseer of this year's interclass competition. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in interest. Classmate Yi, Shangguan Liuli colluded with the dark forces, and tried to use the dark forces' power to win. She was wrong, but you are so cruel and merciless. You should not have made such a vicious bet with her. Zi Qianqian's words were filled with righteous indignation. Her voice was still gentle and beautiful, but with an unquestionable charm. The crowd clapped and cheered. This was the number one beauty in the Heavenly Academy. Not only was she beautiful, her ability was outstanding, and she had such a proper view of the world. Chapter 12:28. Those onlookers who were fanning the flames and waiting to watch a good show. As though they were brainwashed, they started to follow Zi Qianqian's words and accused Yiqing Luo of being vicious. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she was so angry that she laughed. She squinted her eyes mischievously, and her eerie voice was transmitted into their ears. So student Z is begging me to let go of 5th Miss Shangguan? Beg. This word made Zi Qianqian's expression congeal. That pair of determined beautiful eyes flashed past a trace of sharpness. Not waiting for Zi Qianqian to speak, Yiqing Luo laughed sinisterly. But if Devil Class doesn't get first place in this competition, will 5th Miss Shangguan let me off? Zi Qianqian felt a chill down her spine. That laughter, that voice, was obviously pleasing to the ears, but she felt that it sounded like a voice from hell. She tried her best to calm herself down, took a deep breath and continued speaking gently. Of course, 5th Miss Shangguan. Of course she won't let me off. Yiqing Luo directly interrupted Zi Qianqian's words, not giving her any face at all. In order to win me, she didn't hesitate to cooperate with the dark forces and borrow their power. Does this look like she will let it go? Zi Qianqian's face flushed red, and a trace of anger surfaced on her beautiful face. She had no words to refute Yiqing Luo's words. If Devil Class was to be eliminated in today's competition, Shangguan Luli would absolutely not let Yiqing Luo off. But she had already spoken up for Shangguan Luli and gained the crowd's compliments. If she were to give up now, Not only would it seem that she was afraid of Yi Qing Luo, she would also be ridiculed by others. No matter what, she would protect Shengguan Luli today. Thinking of this, Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes lifted up slightly as she stared at Yi Qing Luo, refusing to give in. This is just your imagination. Fifth Miss Shengguan has always been kind-hearted. Even if she accepted the Dark Force's cooperation, it was because of your bet. Now you've already won the interclass competition and caused Fifth Miss Shengguan to leave the academy. Isn't that enough? The more she said, the more indignant Zi Qianqian was. Must you force her to the end before you are willing to let it go? Uft. An uncontrollable laughter broke the solemn atmosphere that had been created with great difficulty. Yi Qing Luo burst out laughing, unable to straighten her back. Her beautiful face was smiling like a flower, and her pair of curved eyes looked even more enchanting. This smile seemed to cause everything in the surroundings to lose their splendor. Yi Qing Luo was even more holy and pure, peerlessly beautiful. Even Zi Qianqian, who was filled with righteous indignation at the side, could not help but feel inferior. You, what are you laughing at? Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes were piercingly cold. I laughed at your stupidity. Yi Qing Luo didn't give him any face as she smiled charmingly. Do you think I alone can decide on the bet? Many of you should have witnessed the bet that day. Did I force Shengguan Lili to agree to the bet? Zi Qianqian was speechless. She wasn't too clear about the bet. Furthermore, what does our bet have to do with you? There's no need to spread your pure Virgin Mary aura everywhere. If you really have good intentions, why not accept the consequences of the bet on her behalf? Yi Qing Luo snorted lightly. Her laughter was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Zi Qianqian's pupils contracted slightly. Her brows were overflowing with embarrassment. She clenched her fists tightly in the dark. This Yi Qing Luo had embarrassed her time and time again. Chapter 1229. Moreover, Yi Qing Luo dragged out the last syllable, as she squinted her eyes at Zi Qianqian with a faint smile. Shengguan Luli deserved to be expelled from the academy. Because of greed, she sold her soul. What has it got to do with me? Don't push the blame to me. I don't have the habit of taking the blame. But, Student Z is such a pure saint. You must like to take the blame for others, right? She chuckled and raised her eyebrows at Zi Qianqian. Compared to listening to your nonsense, I prefer to take action directly. My pure and kind Holy Mother Z, are you going to accept the bet for Shengguan Liuli? Although Zi Qianqian didn't quite understand Yi Qing Luo's words, but she understood the words pure and kind white lotus. It was obviously a beautiful compliment, but Zi Qianqian was very clear that Yi Qing Luo was absolutely not complimenting her. Her face darkened, and a bitter resentment flashed across her eyes. Student Yi, what enmity do you have with Shengguan Fifth Miss? Why did he have to kill the Shengguan Fifth Miss? Did the Yi family teach you to conduct yourself in this way? Zi Qianqian had no way out now. She simply mentioned the Yi family, in an attempt to make Yi Qing Luo let Shengguan Luli off for the family's reputation. Ah! What responded to Zi Qianqian was a painful scream. Fresh blood splattered out. Zi Qianqian was stunned on the spot, and couldn't react in time. Drops of blood splattered on her snow-white dress. Shengguan Luli was in so much pain that her delicate body twisted as she laid on the ground twitching powerlessly. There was a fist-sized hole on her chest as blood kept gushing out. Everyone's vision was fixed on Yi Qing Luo. No, more accurately, they were staring at Yi Qing Luo's hand. Not a single drop of blood could be seen on her fair hands. She was holding a piece of blood jade-like thing. The blood couldn't hide the orange glow of that jade-like thing. Orange-grade profound jade heart. This was Shengguan Luli's profound jade heart. Yi Qing Luo actually dug out Shengguan Luli's profound jade heart with her bare hands. This scene was so bloody that it made many girls vomit directly. The entire West Billow Square was silent, except for the sounds of people sucking in cold breaths and vomiting. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a sly smile. The expression on her face was indifferent. Not the slightest bit. It was the expression of a 15-year-old girl. It was as if she was already used to such bloody things. You, Zi Qianqian was frightened by the look in her eyes. What kind of eyes were they? Like a sharp blade. It ruthlessly stabbed into her heart. It was a kind of suffocating pain. Zi Qianqian couldn't believe that Yiqing Luo had completely disregarded her face and dug out Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart. Without the slightest hesitation, Yiqing Luo didn't put her in her eyes at all. Zi Qianqian's expression changed slightly, and his breathing became heavier. I'm really sorry. It's rare for the number one beauty, student Zi Qianqian, to beg me to let Shangguan Liuli off. I accidentally dug out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo put on an astonished look as she looked at the profound heart jade in her hand. Her eyes were curved and her smile was extremely casual. She smiled lightly as she waved her hand, as she spoke with a helpless look. It almost made Zi Qianqian vomit blood. Beg? When did she beg Yiqing Luo? Did she need to be so shameless? Chapter 1230. Usually, Zi Qianqian had a noble and elegant look. Everyone was afraid of her status as a student of the class of gods, and envied her reputation as the number one beauty. She had never had any disputes with anyone. Choked by Yiqing Luo's few sentences, she was stunned and couldn't refute a single word. Zi Qianqian tried her best to restrain her anger. She couldn't lose her demeanor as the number one beauty in front of thousands of people. And she absolutely couldn't let anyone get hold of her weakness to insult her. Yiqing Luo's action was obviously a slap to her face. She had always protected Shangguan Liuli. Yiqing Luo didn't say a word and directly dug out the profound heart jade in front of her. This was provoking Zi Qianqian, and also slapping Zi Qianqian's face. She took a deep breath and tried her best to maintain her calm voice. Yiqing Luo, you are simply too vicious. Towards her accusation, Yiqing Luo didn't get angry, but instead smiled. Immediately she raised the profound heart jade in her palm and spread it out in front of Zi Qianqian. Her 5 fingers suddenly clenched tightly. A burst of profound qi directly exploded in her palm. Boom! An explosion sounded. That orange-grade profound heart jade directly exploded into pieces in Yiqing Luo's hands. Damn! She actually destroyed an orange-grade profound heart jade. Student Yi, you can leave it for me if you don't want it. I want it all. You are too willing. Although Shangguan Liuli's Earth profound 6th grade, profound grade borrowed the power of the dark forces. But she herself should also be a profound mystic realm cultivator. You can completely absorb her profound qi to consolidate yourself. When the crowd saw such a luxurious scene, they all beat their chests and stamped their feet as they cried out. The profound heart jade could be refined by other cultivators, although the refining method was more complicated and more difficult. But, even if she didn't refine it herself, she could sell it to others to refine. After all, it was a profound mystic realm cultivator's profound heart jade. Destroyed just like that. What a pity. Heartache. The first bet crippled the profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo smiled. Then next. The second crippled the tendons of the hands and feet. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and stared at Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the ground, unable to move due to excessive blood loss. Fifth, Miss Shangguan, don't worry. I will act very quickly. I will absolutely not let you feel any pain. Shangguan Liuli trembled in fear. A sharp pain came from the wound on his chest. Her eyes widened as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. But Yiqing Luo had no intention to look at her in the eye. Yiqing Luo opened her fingers, and the glower flame fan appeared in her hands. She shook it, and a red electric current coiled around the glowing flame fan. She aimed the glowing flame fan at Shangguan Liuli's arm, and the electric current shot up like a red sharp knife, cutting Shangguan Liuli's arm. Bang! A stream of profound energy suddenly repelled the red light. Zi Qianqian waved his sleeve and conjured a mystical energy barrier in front of Shangguan Liuli. Her gaze was vicious as she stared at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo dared to ignore her. In the Ling King's tomb, Yiqing Luo had tried time and time again to sow discord between her and the Death God mercenary group. and time again to embarrass her, and time again to snatch her limelight. Now she even embarrassed her in public. Chapter 1231. Zi Qianqian's words made Yi Qing Luo's movements halted. Devil class was the champion class. Devil class could choose whether to challenge the overseer or not. After challenging the overseer, they could enter the class of gods to undergo special training. Although she had no interest in the class of gods. But the other students in Devil class were still yearning for the class of gods. If they could enter the class of gods to undergo special training, it would be a huge upgrade for those students. After some time, Yi Qing Luo kept her glower flame fan. I forgot that there's still you, the overseer. Zi Qianqian's face turned black. Then let's temporarily leave Shangguan Liuli's meridians for another day. Yi Qing Luo lazily stretched her waist and directly returned to the stage without even turning her head back, totally disregarding Zi Qianqian. After she returned to the stage, she looked at Yun Duan and gave a polite smile. Tomorrow, Devil class will challenge the overseer. Yun Duan's gaze towards Yi Qing Luo was filled with curiosity. No one could imagine it. Such a young lady. How did she manage to face such a bloody scene without any expression? So direct and efficient, digging out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade and directly destroying it. Even if it was them, they would not be able to do it so directly. Are Devil class sure to challenge the overseer? Once the challenge is confirmed, it cannot be changed. Yun Duan solemnly reminded. If tomorrow's competition is lost, the class of gods will become the new champion class, while Devil class can only be considered as stopping at the finals. This meant Yi Qing Luo and Shangguan Liuli's bet, considered as Yi Qing Luo's loss. If they wanted to retain the title of champion class, the best way was to refuse to challenge the overseer. The crowd and the students all perked up as they looked at Yi Qing Luo nervously. But as the main character who was the focus of attention, Devil class's students were not nervous at all. They were incomparably calm as they whispered to each other, discussing who would go to the class of gods to receive special training. Listening to the Devil class's unbridled discussion, High Profound Class 2's students almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The crowd's lips twitched. Where did their confidence come from? How could they be so sure that they could win Zi Qianqian? They really couldn't blame the Devil class's students for being so calm. It was not their first time meeting Zi Qianqian. The performance of the god-slaying mercenary group in the tomb of the Ling King had amazed them. Their boss Qing Luo's ability was definitely stronger than Zi Qianqian's. Yes. Under everyone's anxious and curious gazes, Yi Qing Luo replied word by word without hesitation. Then, tomorrow, the class will challenge the leader, student Zi Qianqian. Yun Duan announced. Soon after, he said some concluding words. It was already late, so they dispersed. As the crowd dispersed, the onlookers were still discussing what had just happened. Today's competition was really unexpected. Devil class defeated High Profound Class 2. High Profound Class 1 took the initiative to admit defeat. There was also the matter of Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade being destroyed. It had already become a topic that everyone was talking about enthusiastically. When the Devil class students were about to leave the scene, they were still surrounded by the other classes or the crowd. They all wanted to ask the Devil class, how exactly did they win this competition? There were also many people from various forces who wanted to rope in this group of young students. But when the students of Devil class heard some comments, their faces turned ugly. Chapter 1232. The few students beside her nodded their heads in agreement, digging out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade in front of so many people. Boss, your reputation. A Devil class student howled. Under Zi Qianqian's intentional embellishment, Yi Qing Luo had already become a vicious and merciless, overbearing and vicious woman. Now, Yi Qing Luo dug out Shangguan Liuli's profound heart jade in front of everyone and directly blasted it into dregs. This totally proved Zi Qianqian's words. Probably, in the eyes of the surrounding crowd, Yi Qing Luo had completely become a great demoness who killed without batting an eyelid. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose as she disapprovingly shot a glance at the group of youngsters behind her. I did it on purpose. Ha! Ha! The students' footsteps halted as they looked at Yi Qing Luo in astonishment. They were unable to understand the meaning in her words. Yi Qing Luo also stopped in her tracks as she turned around and looked at this bunch of young students as she laughed lightly. Gentle and virtuous. #1 beauty. #1 genius and such reputation. I have no interest in it, and it's not suitable for me. What I need is a position which no one dares to easily shake. So what if you're a great demoness? Now those people who dares to talk about devil class just because of a disagreement. Demoness. That was a title which made people afraid. Why couldn't she be a demoness? Yi Qing Luo didn't want devil class to become like the class of gods, to be praised by everyone and be high up. The young lads and young ladies had not completely matured yet. Once they had a taste of that which made others envious, it would easily lead to a change in their mentality, to enjoy this taste, to be greedy for this taste. Rather than this, why not let devil class become a class which everyone feared? Because of fear, those people would also think of ways to destroy these students at the same time of fear. And if devil class's students didn't want to be destroyed by others, then they must work hard to make themselves stronger, to make themselves even more fearful. King Ling's tomb. She didn't bother to conceal, exposing Blue Dragon, Chi-Chi and God Relic in front of everyone, and making use of 3,000 peach blossoms to spread this matter. It was to lay down the foundation for the World Mercenary Group. It was to let everyone know that the World Group's ability was not something which they could imagine. But today, she dug out Shangguan Luli's profound heart jade in front of everyone. It was also to prove in front of everyone that she, Yi Qing Luo, would do what she said. If she wanted to go against the devil class, her methods were not limited to these. If you're not convinced, give it a try? How would the onlookers dare to try? Who didn't know that Yi Qing Luo had various divine dragon sacred beast god relic on her? Hence, everyone felt a sense of shock towards the devil class. Those voices that were nagging about how the devil class was a useless class gradually disappeared. This was the effect that Yi Qing Luo wanted. Qing Luo's decision naturally has her reasons. Everyone go back to the dormitory and have a good rest. There's a tough battle tomorrow. Xiao Jin's peripheral vision saw a white figure walking over, and he immediately waved his hand, separating the students from Yi Qing Luo. Saying that, he pushed Yi Qing Luo towards a certain direction. Tomorrow's match, Before Yi Qing Luo could finish her words, because of that push from Xiao Jin, she lost her balance and her body suddenly fell backwards. Yi Qing Luo exerted a little strength on her waist, and was just about to flip over and get up. An arm wrapped around her waist. An electric current like numbness instantly made Yi Qing Luo lose all her energy. Chapter 1233. It's only been a day and Lil Luo already misses me so much. A low husky magnetic voice, with a hint of ridicule, rang softly in her ears. A rich familiar sandalwood scent enveloped her entirely. In that voice, Yi Qing Luo's petite body was like a puddle of water, leaning softly in his arms. Since the beauty has taken the initiative to throw herself into my arms, how can this lord reject? His words had just ended when Yi Qing Luo's legs left the ground. Her entire body was brought into his warm embrace. Yi Qing Luo was so shocked that she immediately stretched out her hand and circled around his neck. You. What are you doing? He was wearing revered Mo's face. In public, to do such an action would attract criticism. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up slightly as his chest heaved up and down. A low laughter came from his throat, which was filled with charm. Yi Qing Luo struggled a little as she turned her head to look at the surroundings. But she discovered that the devil class's students had very tacitly surrounded them in layers. As far as she could see, it was filled with students dressed in red class uniforms. Her suspended heart finally calmed down. So afraid of being discovered, Dmo Xian lowered his head. Warm thin lips were pressed against her earlobe. A scorching hot breath sprayed onto her skin. Yi Qingluo's petite body trembled as she hurriedly turned her head, trying to struggle. But her head was held in place by Dmo Xian's large palm. His lips were still touching her ear. Lil Luo, is so excited, don't tell me. Lil Luo likes such an exciting method of secret love? Yi Qingluo flew into a rage out of humiliation as her cheeks flushed red. She raised her fist and punched fiercely towards Dmo Xian's chest as she clenched her teeth and spat. You're talking rubbish. Who likes secret love? Who likes excitement? Let me down. Not letting go. Dmo Xian shamelessly tightened his grip as his deep eyes contained a smile which seemed to be able to melt an iceberg. Unless you struggle free yourself. Yi Qingluo directly chose to give up resisting. What a joke. Her strength was not comparable to Dmo Xian, alright. Furthermore, whatever she wanted to do, Dmo Xian would know what she was going to do next. Trying to struggle free from his embrace? Hee. This was impossible even in a dream. Nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, under the escort of a group of students, the group left West Lawn Square and went straight back to the dormitory. The controversial person left. The next person to be debated was naturally the main character of the farce just now. For example, Zi Qianqian. For example, Shangguan Liuli had her profound heart jade dug out, and because she had lost too much blood, her entire face was deathly pale, and she looked extremely like a malicious spirit. She lay on the ground, her heart filled with resentment. But Shangguan Liuli was clear. Their defeat in the interclass competition, she no longer had the chance to take revenge. Because Yi Qingluo had exposed her collaboration with the dark forces in public, the Shangguan family deliberately led the crowd to suspect that the Shangguan family had also joined the dark forces. As a result, the current Shangguan family had already been forcibly removed from the four great families. He didn't have the honor of being one of the four great families. They, the Shangguan clan, were nothing. The enemies who had once humiliated and oppressed him were now all knocking on his door. Her father had long been fed up with her. If it wasn't for the fact that she still had some value, perhaps her father had already killed her to vent his anger. Shangguan Liuli painfully shut her eyes as she kept hating Yi Qingluo in her heart. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.